Hey, hello, and a happy Valentine's Day this Friday, February 14th. So good to see you today. Lots of love out to you. And what everybody's talking about. Lots to talk about here on Free Speech TV and on our video stream. Of course, youtube.com/Talker, TawkrTV. And it's the weather that everybody's talking about, this big snowstorm blanketing the East Coast all the way from Georgia up to Maine, closing down just about everything, airports and train service and schools and the federal government. Most stores and businesses that I saw yesterday were closed as well because nobody was out. Vice President Biden wasn't even able to go over to Cambridge, Maryland, on the Eastern Shore to address the House Democratic Caucus. The Secret Service said it was too dangerous to travel. Things are back to about half operation today. The federal government on a 2-hour delay. Schools, for the most part, remain closed. And today, President Obama is scheduled to go over to Cambridge, Maryland, on his way then to California, first in Fresno, to discuss, find out more, and see firsthand the effects of the drought, and then down to Rancho Mirage, California, for a summit meeting this evening with King Abdullah of Jordan. On the weather front, Mayor de Blasio in New York in a little hot water. You know how it is with the mayor. They criticize you if you shut down the schools because of the snow. And Mayor de Blasio is getting criticized now because he kept the schools open despite the snow. Who wants to be mayor anyway? You can't win for losing. And over in Sochi, the United States tied for second in overall medals with the Netherlands. And we'll have a we'll check in with Sochi here. All of that coming up on this Friday edition of the Bill Press Show. Remember, we'd love to hear from you at our toll-free number, 866-55-PRESS.
This is the Bill Press Show.
Don't look at me. Your hair's a bit frizzy today. Oh, you should pick that up. Oh, you're such a dork. Loser. Here, let me help you with that. Oops.
Every day, kids witness bullying.
Oh, look. Your crush is looking at you. Poor you.
They want to help, but don't know how.
See, no one here's gonna help you, because no one
Teach your
likes
kids how to be more than a bystander. Visit stopbullying.gov.
If you drive buzzed, it could cost you around $10,000. You'll face major legal fees, major fines, and steep insurance penalties. You could lose everything. Nothing kills a buzz like getting pulled over for buzz driving, because buzz driving is drunk driving.
When some people struggle with their mortgage payments, they become frozen, petrified. Not knowing what to do, they do nothing. But the people who take action are far more likely to get the most positive outcome. Making home affordable is a free government program. Call now to talk one-on-one with a housing expert about the options that are right for you. Real help, real answers, right now.
Here at the GED Pep Talk Center, we have pep talkers standing by to get you motivated for your GED diploma. Text the name Terry to 69222 for a sympathetic pep talk.
You show people what you really are.
Or for a gentle pep talk, text the name Deborah.
You know you're going to make people very proud of you.
And if that's not enough, text the name Danny for an extreme pep talk.
Prove everyone wrong. Show them you're the boss.
Get your GED pep talk and find free GED classes. Text the name of the person you want a pep talk from to 69222.
Did you see the world differently? Did you celebrate the victory?
So today, I state clearly and with conviction America's commitment to seek the peace and security of a world without nuclear weapons.
Did you stand up against our greatest threat? Change the world.
And online, this is the Bill Press Show.
Happy Valentine's Day. We love you all, and good to have you with us today. On Valentine's Day 2014, February 14. Good morning, everybody. Happy Friday. Not just Valentine's Day, damn it. It's Valentine's Day, February 14, Friday. And whether it's Valentine's Day or not, Friday, our favorite day here at the Bill Press Show. Yes, 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 yes. And we're here again. Made it through the storm all the way. The entire team here. Another pajama party last night, so we could all be here this morning. I think we're supposed to have some more snow tonight.
Yeah, I know.
I mean, so. Okay.
Glad we don't have to be here tomorrow morning.
Right,
I'm running out of clean clothes.
Good morning, everybody. Great to see you on a Friday. Thank you for joining us wherever you happen to be in this great land of ours. Snow on the ground in 49 out of 50 states yesterday. We don't know what's wrong with Florida, but, we hope they get some snow tonight, maybe.
Right.
So they'll join the crowd here. Yes, after all, they feel left out down there in Florida. Yeah. They are left out in many different ways, actually. Good to see you all today. Good to have you with us around the table as we take a look at the news of the day. It's not all just weather, but a lot of it is weather. And look forward to hearing from you, all of our good friends, snowbound out there at 866-55-PRESS. Let us know how it went for you yesterday. Or you can send us your comments on the issues we're talking about at any time, of course, on Twitter at BP Show and on Facebook at facebook.com/Bill Press Show. It's a beautiful Friday morning. I tell you, a little treacherous here in Washington, D.C. because we had not really more snow, but rain yesterday afternoon, which then turned to an icy mix or whatever.
We got some snow, but nothing really
icy
stuck.
this morning.
It is yesterday was bad walking in,
but it was
because there was so much snow.
But it was nice walking through the big thick snow.
Yeah.
This morning it's
ice.
Coat of ice.
It's
coat
glass.
of ice. Yeah. So, and that may be the case where you are too. This time of the morning, particularly before it heats up, you got to be very, very careful. Great to have you with us. The whole team here, as I say, Peter Ogburn and Elisa Murphy.
Good morning.
Alicia made it in. Alicia Cruz made it in all the way from up in Baltimore this morning. She had the toughest and riskiest drive of all.
That's a tough commute.
And then Cyprian Bolding on the job, as always, on the video cam. Cyprian's the only person I know that when in the winter, he walks with his own bag of salt.
Oh, he does. He really?
Yes. Yeah.
Get out of here.
No.
You bring a bag of salt?
No. When we came over this morning, he had his own bag of salt. I said, "What's that?" And we're taking off this. He said, "Well, I have this just in case we need a little help." And so we're walking. I turned around and Cyprian's spreading salt as we walk.
You know what? I've never ever heard that.
You must have felt like royalty.
Why not?
No, wait. Royalty. He wasn't putting it in front of me. He was. He was in back of me, putting it down for himself.
Oh my goodness!
He would watch where I was slipping, and then he would put some salt.
You go first, Bill.
I was the test driver here.
Oh no!
I turned around. Yeah, that guy's a Boy Scout, man.
I love it. Yeah. Hey, look, let me tell you something. If we do have some sort of worldwide apocalypse, that's the dude I want to get stuck with. He'll have something for everything.
That's right. You know what they say in the case of the nuclear thing? It'll only be the cockroaches that survive. It'll be the cockroaches and Cyprian.
That's right. That's right. And his bag of salt.
And his bag of salt. Yep, indeed. I got to tell you, Philadelphia got pretty hammered. And the mayor of Philadelphia, Mel Nutter, had a good idea. All you young people out there, schools are closed, colleges are closed. I got a good idea for you.
To the young people of Philadelphia, given that you have a day off, grab a shovel. There is much money to be made all across the city of Philadelphia that will help you with your college tuition or anything else that you might have going.
The mayor there, he's an entrepreneur. I thought he was going to say, get a shovel and go out and just shovel your neighbor's walkway and just be a good Samaritan and go around and help us. No.
Make some money, man.
Go out there and make some money.
Of course, they can't tax it. I guess kids just going out there, but
we have people knock on our door every time it snows, with their shovel, waiting to shovel it out. So, but Carol was already on the job before they even got there yesterday.
There you go.
So we got a lot coming up. Susan Page from USA Today will be joining us a little bit later this hour. Alex Bolton from The Hill will be here as a friend of Bill. We'll go to the movies this morning, and we'll go to Sochi for another update. And the Obama hate machine is in full force. But first,
this is the Full Court Press.
Just a couple other stories making news. Where are you going? What are you doing? You gonna get a bag of salt or something? You just took off. Well, it is February 14th. It's Valentine's Day, and more important than the actual Valentine's Day, today is the day that House of Cards Season 2 went live on Netflix. It went up at midnight, despite the fact that there were thousands of people calling for Netflix to release it a day early
because it was a snow day.
Everybody was stuck at home, so
Right.
people were begging Netflix. Netflix actually put out a statement, said, you can watch Season 2 at midnight tonight. It went up. It's already up there. I won't give away any spoilers. I didn't watch any of it yet. But
13 episodes, right?
13 episodes. You can watch it
Yeah.
all at once if you want. You can sit down and watch it all day.
Well, President Obama's going out to Rancho Mirage, and Michelle Obama is going to Aspen, Colorado, with the girls to do a little skiing. So the president, apparently, he's playing golf tomorrow, this weekend for him. He has his summit meeting with King Abdullah tonight. And then they're being very quiet about it, but he's going to play golf for sure. He loves that golf course out there. It's a private golf course on the Annenberg estate. And then it says this weekend he's going to binge watch Game of Thrones and True Detective.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
By the way,
so he's spending a weekend binge watching. Why isn't he doing House of Cards?
I'm sure he might. He said he likes it.
He loves it.
He likes watching it. By the way, I'm glad he's watching True Detective. That is the greatest show on TV right now.
My God.
Good for him.
All right, there you go.
I mentioned yesterday that Derek Jeter is going to be retiring from the New York Yankees. He's on his way to the Hall of Fame for sure. But yesterday, Sports Nation put out a different statistic that has already landed him in the Dating Hall of Fame, if there was such a thing. They compiled all of the actresses, models, and singers that he dated while he was a New York Yankee. Some of the names are actress Jessica Alba and Jessica Biel, supermodel Adriana Lima, actress Scarlett Johansson, Mariah Carey, Tyra Banks, Mika Kelly, Jordana Brewster, Vanessa Manillo. The list goes on and on. In fact, they put together a whole baseball team's worth of famous women that he's dated while he played baseball.
Pays to be a Yankee.
Pays to be a Yankee. You got it. Yesterday, we got the official word that November 11th, 2014 will be the publishing date of the latest novel by Stephen King. He's putting out a new book. It's going to be called Revival. They say it's going to be a dark and electrifying novel about addiction, fanaticism, and what might exist on the other side of life. Whatever the hell that means.
Doesn't he he owns a radio station up in Maine,
indeed.
I think, right?
Yes, indeed.
Yeah. Are we on it?
We are.
All right.
I believe we
All
are.
right.
Yes, indeed.
So,
We're there.
With full disclosure, our boss, Stephen King.
That's
yes,
right.
Gotta know about that. Hey, we might have seen me last night with the Reverend Al Sharpton on Politics Nation, MSNBC, talking about, I wanted to start there this morning and get your take on it, because it's really ugly. You know, the reason I jumped up when Peter started here was to grab a copy of this off the shelf. My last book, it's a couple of years old now, but the point is, it's still, that's what I wanted to say, it still goes on. The Obama hate machine has not died. It started when President Obama was just candidate Obama running for president, and it's continued through the 2008 campaign. It continued through the first term, and it is as alive and well and ugly as ever today. And there are many, many examples of it. It's just something about President Obama that so many right-wingers cannot stand. They just have this visceral hatred of the man, and it drives them to say all kinds of extreme things said by some of the most extreme people on the planet, one of whom is this Ben Carson. He's a Fox commentator. He's actually a doctor from up in Baltimore, but now he's no longer practicing medicine. I'm pretty sure he's just out on the right-wing talking circuit. And here he is at a recent appearance out in on some right-wing talk show. Now, notice, so here's the danger that he sees for conservatives today.
There comes a time when people with values simply have to stand up. Think about Nazi Germany.
There it is. Yeah.
Most of those people did not believe in what Hitler was doing.
Yep.
But did they speak up?
Nope.
Did they stand up for what they believed? They did
Very
not.
few.
And you saw what happened. And if you believe that the same thing can't happen again, you're very wrong.
He's not the only one to bring up the Nazi stuff. The Nazi stuff, we have to speak up. Who is preventing these people from speaking up? That's my question. The very fact that they're out there on television, on radio, on the right-wing circuit means that just the opposite is true. Nobody is trying to silence these people. Maybe we should. No, I don't mean that. But the fact that they have no trouble getting their voice out there. Here's a guy, Eric Rush, right? He writes a column, right-winger column. He said, here's what he accused President Obama of, quote, disinformation, intimidation, sabotage, even murder. Even murder, he says, towards Obama's goal of a, ready for it, Nazi, communist, Islamic, totalitarian state. So that's the one phase of this Obama hate machine that we hear. And by the way, as far as that goes, way back in the Crossfire days, we had a rule. Bob Novak, Pat Buchanan, and I, right and left, we both agreed. Anytime anybody used the Nazi analogy or Hitler, they lost.
Yeah.
I mean, we just dismiss them as being cuckoo, right? But these guys are back at it today. So first of all, they're trying to say that President Obama is a Nazi leader. And then the other thing is, which is close, that he is a lawless leader. Here's Charles Krauthammer, sort of the lead conservative today on Fox News the other evening.
This law of the land doesn't even exist. It exists in Obama's head. It's whatever he thinks. He wakes up in the morning and decides what the law is going to be. That, as an understatement, that's not the way it's supposed to work.
No, so President Obama, he was talking particularly about the Affordable Care Act. President Obama just gets up in the morning, every morning, and decides which laws he's going to enforce and which laws he's not going to enforce, right? That's Charles Krauthammer. Okay, so he's a cuckoo conservative commentator. But how about John Boehner? Remember, said the same thing last week.
There's widespread doubt about whether this administration can be trusted to enforce our laws. And it's going to be difficult to move any immigration legislation until that changes.
You can't, but there's Boehner saying you can't trust the president to enforce the laws. All right, let's just leave the facts aside maybe for a second, right? I mean, like, it is worth asking. Exactly what laws is the president not enforcing, John Boehner? And since Obamacare is the law of the land and has been for 4 years, maybe the people who are trying to undermine Obamacare, maybe the people who are trying to repeal Obamacare are the ones who are the lawless ones and not the one who's trying to enforce it. I don't know, maybe just sort of asking. But here's what gets me about this hate talk, and particularly about this Nazi talk. Again, where is the leadership of the Republican Party in condemning this kind of hate talk? Where they are silent. Where's Reince Priebus, who gets his panties in a twist over the fact that somebody who works overnight at MSNBC suggests that conservatives are not going to be happy, some conservatives won't be happy with the Cheerios commercial. And on behalf of the Republican Party, he says that's an attack on us, all Republicans, and demands that MSNBC apologize. And in fact, they fired the guy. Reince Priebus, have you ever heard him say a word about the stuff that Ben Carson says, or Eric Rush says, or any of those other people that we played bites last week from some of these congressional town halls across the country? No. So if the right-wingers use the worst, ugliest hate talk against President Obama, that's okay, right? That's okay. They never say a word. Look, I love politics. I've made a living debating issues in politics. But this hate talk just goes way, way, way too far. I got to tell you, I disagree with John Boehner on a lot of issues, but I don't hate John Boehner, and I would never suggest that John Boehner or Mitt Romney or Mitch McConnell are Nazis or trying to turn this into an authoritarian. I never even said that about George Bush and Dick Cheney, for God's sakes. How far is this hate talk going to go, and how can we stop it? 866-55-PRESS. Let's not good for the country. Let's talk about it here on this Valentine's Day. We'll talk about hate.
This is the Bill Press Show.
A single ember that escapes from a wildfire can travel more than a mile. That single ember can ignite and destroy your home or even your community. You can't control where that ember will land, only what happens when it does. Get Fire Adapted now at fireadapted.org.
Columbine, Virginia Tech,
Tucson,
Aurora,
Fort Hood, Oak Creek,
Newtown.
Newtown,
Newtown.
Newtown.
How many more?
How many more? How many more colleges? How many more classrooms?
How many more movie theaters?
How many more houses of faith?
How many more shopping malls?
How many more street corners?
How many more?
How many more?
Enough.
Enough.
Enough. Enough.
Demand a plan.
Right now. As a mom.
As a dad. As a friend. As a husband.
As a wife.
As an American.
As an American.
As an American.
As a human being.
For the children of Sandy Hook.
Demand a plan. No more lists of names. It's not too soon.
It's too late.
Now is the time.
Before we all know someone who loved someone on that list.
No more lists.
No more.
Who they might have been. No more.
If we had just done something yesterday. It's time.
We can do better than this.
We can do better than this.
It's time.
It's time.
It's time for our leaders to act. Demand a plan. Right now.
Right now.
You! Demand it!
Enough.
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 None of us would want to be told we can't marry the person we love. As Americans, we believe in freedom. That's what I fought for as a Marine, and that's what we believe in as Republicans. Freedom means freedom for everyone. I didn't used to understand the importance of same-sex marriage, but after learning my brother was gay, I wanted the same rights for him. He was the best man at my wedding, and I want to be the best man at his. It's only fair that Calvin should have the freedom to marry the person he loves, too.
It's time for marriage.
At Earth Justice, we defend the environment in the courtroom. Join our fight. When you take a seat, you take a stand. Earth Justice, because the Earth needs a good lawyer.
So, I'm kind of new here, but I've noticed a trend. My human does this funny thing where she goes around and gets all my toys, and then she hides them in that basket by the door. You know, but it's always the same basket, and it's always in the same place. And then she acts so surprised when I find them, but, she's putting them in the same basket. Again. It's like, hello, that's where you put it last time. You were the worst at hide and go seek.
This is the Bill Press Show.
Okay, 26 minutes after the hour. By the way, a federal judge in Virginia yesterday ruled that Virginia's ban against same-sex marriages is unconstitutional. That is happening in state after state after state. Good news, and that's one way we're going to get around some of those constitutional amendments against marriage equality. Right now, we're talking about the wave of hate that we hear every day coming from right-wing commentators. And what's interesting is they spew this hate out there, and then they say, yeah, but everybody's trying to silence us. They're trying to shut us down just like they did in Nazi Germany. I mean, to what extent will these people go, right, to just kind of stir up hatred against President Obama? You disagree with his policies? Fine, just say so. But, I mean, don't take it to this extreme. Paul, they can't help themselves. Paul in Benson, Pennsylvania. Hey, Paul, what do you say? Good morning.
Good morning, everybody. It's really funny how the Republicans don't have any type of grasp of history, because if you look back on it, and like the Nazi Party was the ultimate right-wing machine, and the first thing they did was they got rid of the communists, they got rid of the socialists, they went after the unions, they got rid of them, and then they went after the Jews. So, it's kind of like their analogy is way off, and I think the whole party has just morphed into this thing. It's kind of like the Ku Klux Klan without the sheets.
Paul, well said. Someone made this point the other day that they run around saying, for example, here in Washington, we can't compromise. Compromise is a dirty word. No compromise ever. And this city, this nation's capital, is a compromise. It's a result of a compromise, of course, between historic Thomas Jefferson and Alexander Hamilton. They don't know their history.
This
Good point.
is the Bill Press Show.
So this is my computer.
This is your computer. Let's go on the internet.
Let's go. Click it.
Yes.
Okay.
I cursor in between the R and the E. Pressing dot. I want you to just push the area.
She's gonna love me all over again.
That's it. Jamaica, here you go.
Here we go.
Good job.
Thank you. And I did it by myself. Feel smarter.
So, I'm kind of new here, but I've noticed a trend. My human does this funny thing where she goes around and gets all my toys, and then she hides them in that basket by the door. But it's always the same basket, and it's always in the same place. And then she acts so surprised when I find them, but, she's putting them in the same basket. Again. It's like, hello, that's where you put it last time. You were the worst at hide and go seek.
So, same time next week?
Well, of course.
Put away a few bucks, feel like $1 million. For free tips to help you save, go to Feed the Pig.
All right. I know this isn't any fun to talk about, but we should. Okay. So who's going to do what?
I'll pack the dead batteries.
Great.
I'll only put what I don't need into a duffel bag.
Perfect. That's totally unhelpful.
No problem.
Meanwhile, I will try to comfort everyone by speaking in a calm voice.
And I'll try to get the generator going without any gas.
Oh, let's not forget the cell phones, which probably won't work.
Right.
And who is going to handle supplies?
I can forget to do a list for us.
Thanks, pal.
Well, I think we couldn't be any less prepared. I'm proud of you guys.
Talk to your kids about who to call, where to meet, what to pack. Visit ready.gov/kids for tips and information.
Hey, thanks for stopping by. You know, I followed your character since the first episode. I'm a big fan, big fan.
Thank you.
And listen, your storyline, it makes for incredible TV drama. Thing is, your drug use is very adult content. Too adult for the kids. So I'm gonna have to block you.
Oh, man.
Yeah. Well, have a good one.
You're a nice lady.
All right, on a Valentine's Day 2014, here we are, the Bill Press Show, coming to you live from a nation's capital. Pretty much shut down yesterday, man. It was hard even to go out and find a cup of coffee anywhere, right?
It really was.
You know, I mean, I don't know about department stores and all that kind of stuff, but in the neighborhood here, all our little local hangouts, they were closed. Lights out. Chairs up on the table.
Yeah, I didn't even think about that yesterday after the show. I was thinking, well, go grab some breakfast or something. Everything was closed. Market lunch was closed. Everywhere, everything was shut down.
I know. So you just might as well go home and go to bed.
I ate a bunch of snow.
I
ate a bunch of snow. And I came back in and I kept working.
Go home and binge.
It's exactly.
Right? Yeah. So wherever you happen to be, I hope you are surviving the storm and making do. And today it's kind of halfway back to normal.
It's getting there,
I guess. Yeah.
Once the ice that's out there now, once that sort of goes away, we'll be all right. But you now have no excuse, by the way, to not watch House of Cards. Because it's the perfect day to just hang out, veg, stay off the icy streets, and watch some House of Cards.
But was it midnight last? Is it up now, or is it midnight tonight?
I've been watching it all show, Bill.
Oh, okay. Right. I was wondering.
If I've been quiet, I've been watching TV
watching
over here.
Porn over there or something. And we've been talking about the latest wave of hate talk against President Obama. And by the way, there's a phrase for I mentioned that these people are really deranged. There's really that's the right word. There's a phrase for this. And again, your comments welcome at 866-55-PRESS because you've heard it. I mean, the calling. It started back in the campaign, the Nazi stuff. I remember in 2008 when we talked about this, when President Obama, candidate Obama then, was getting such huge crowds everywhere. Remember? And Mark Levin, wacko talk show host, right, said, it's like Hitler. That's what Hitler was. Hitler had the big crowds and people loved him. They started the Hitler comparisons way back then. It is so sick and it is so wrong. But you know what it is? The phrase for it is Obama derangement syndrome. That's what it is. And let me tell you something. I didn't come up with that phrase. That is David Horowitz. David Horowitz, as right-wing as you can get, from Los Angeles. I know him well. I've debated him before. He used to be a real lefty, and then he went over to the dark side as far as you could go. And early in the Obama administration, David Horowitz said, listen, people, right, you may disagree with Obama, but all this extreme hate talk is just going way too far. He said, it's the Obama derangement syndrome. Mm-hmm. He, conservative, said that about his fellow conservatives. Well, his voice is a voice crying in the wilderness now because, man, they have not let up. It just gets worse and worse and worse. And you hear the Nazi talk every day. And you hear now the talking point that obviously has been circulated because you're hearing it from everybody. We heard it from Rush this week. We heard it from Charles Krauthammer this week. We heard it from John Boehner last week. The lawless president. You can't trust him to enforce the laws. It's not our fault we're not passing immigration reform. We're not doing it because we can't trust Obama to enforce the law. On the Affordable Care Act, yeah, we don't like it, and it's out there, but we can't trust Obama. Okay, that's the latest talking point. We heard it also this week from Glenn Beck. Glenn Beck is sort of the same thing, kind of blaming the media, but getting around to this fact that we just can't trust this administration.
You people in the press disgust me. You disgust me. How do you sleep at night? You won't print a word of this in context. It is important for the American people to know who they can trust. Because trust is at an all-time low. And I don't ever ask you for trust. Don't trust me. Do your own homework.
Yeah.
And I want to show the press how out of touch they are. Because you did do your own homework.
Yeah, okay, babble.
And you know what? The government gets something out of it. The press has no...
Cut. But you see, trust, that's it. We can't trust him. We can't trust him. We can't trust him. This yet over and over again. Lawlessness. We can't trust him. That's the latest theme of the Obama hate machine. And by the way, a lot of it is directed against the Affordable Care Act. And you know what it's all about, I think? I think it gets down to this. The reason their attacks have been sort of escalating up and getting uglier and uglier and uglier, and they've come on to this, you can't trust him. I think Republicans are starting to realize, oh crap, the Affordable Care Act is here to stay. Oh crap, people are really signing up. Oh crap, people like it. That's what's happening, right? You saw the numbers this week. 3.3 million people have already signed up. Another 3.2 million people have got expanded Medicaid thanks to the Affordable Care Act. There are going to be 5 million people minimum by the end of March with health insurance they never had before thanks to the Affordable Care Act. All these kids who are on their parents' health insurance until 26. All these people who have a pre-existing condition and who can now buy insurance. So as they see that it's working, they're panicking because number one, their whole past history, right, of saying this is a disaster, it's falling apart, we're going to repeal it, has proven to be bogus. They voted 47 times to repeal it. They never repealed it. And then looking forward, so they realize everybody knows they've been wrong in the past. And looking forward, this is what they plan to run against and run on in 2014. One issue alone. Obamacare, 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 Obamacare. Well, you know, in 2012, they did the same thing. They went to the American people and said, Obamacare is a disaster. You've got a choice. Stay with Obamacare and with Barack Obama, or down with Obamacare and go with Mitt Romney. And what do the American people do? So why do they think it's going to work any better in 2014? But especially now they don't. And so what are they left with? I want to show you how far they're, how extreme they are. Okay, here's Michelle Bachmann. She was asked this question. Well, Republicans have tried, and they tried, and they've tried, and they haven't been able to repeal Obamacare. Who's going to repeal it now? Here's Michelle Bachmann. Divine intervention.
You know, I really do. I believe that God listens to his people, and I think as believers humble themselves, confess their sins, and pray. I think God hears from us, hears our hearts, and he moves. He moves in miraculous ways. I'm not getting up. The reason why I ran for president in 2012 was to repeal Obamacare.
So I wasn't able to do it on my own, but God hears our prayers, and God is going to do it. So expect any day that bolt of lightning to come from the sky.
Exactly.
And wipe Obamacare off the books. It'll probably pinpoint that very point of the law, right? Boom! Don't like that one. Take care of it. God, what a bird brain. Harry, out in Youngstown, Ohio. Hey, Harry, what do you say? Good morning.
All right. How you doing, Bill?
I'm doing good. Yeah. Thanks for joining me.
I just got a comment about Limbaugh and these guys, talking about Obama being like Hitler and we're going to have concentration camps and all that. Do they really realize what Hitler would do to them if he was in power here? What Obama would do to him if he was really like Hitler? I mean, he'd take a whole bunch out and shoot him, and first thing he'd do is take Limbaugh's gold microphone away from him, and you know where he'd stick it.
Well, all right, careful there, Harry. No, but absolutely, and I sort of made that point earlier, is that the fact that these people have the microphone and they're on television, and will say all this. Do you think there was any freedom of speech, any freedom of expression under Nazi Germany? I mean, these people can say anything they want, and they do all the time, right? That did not exist in Nazi Germany. The very fact that they are out there every day proves that they are wrong when they try to compare what's happening, the America under President Obama with Nazi Germany. It's just despicable. And again, I go back to our crossfire rule. If you hear any of that Nazi talk, you hear the Hitler talk, just write them off. Just don't even listen anymore, because they are simply not credible. Susan Page, Washington Bureau Chief for USA Today. She's on top of it. A big new interview with Marco Rubio about immigration. We'll talk to her when we come back here on Valentine's Day.
This is the Bill Press Show.
It is possible to read the history of this country as one long struggle to extend the liberties established in our Constitution to everyone in America. In other words, who, according to our laws and culture, gets to be considered a person? The law creates legal personhood, and movements create law and change culture. So, how have the courts passed laws to shape our culture? That history goes way back before Citizens United. 1819, Dartmouth College versus Woodward, Supreme Court case, turned a corporate charter from a government-granted charter to a contract. This ruling gave corporations standing within the Constitution. 1886, Santa Clara County versus Southern Pacific Railroad. Though the court did not rule on corporate personhood, the decision was subsequently cited as a precedent to hold that a private corporation is entitled to the same 14th Amendment rights of due process and equal protection as human beings. This makes it impossible for us to make laws that treat local businesses any differently than giant multinational corporations, even if their business practices are deemed to be harmful to workers, the environment and communities, or if they have a history of violating the law. Hale versus Henkel, 1906. the court granted corporations the Fourth Amendment search and seizure protection. Dodge versus Ford Motor Company, 1919. The Michigan Supreme Court says the business corporation is organized and carried on primarily for the profit of the stockholders. Stockholder primacy is established. The purpose of the corporation, according to the court, is no longer to serve the public good, as it had been. It is now to maximize profit for shareholders above all else. Pennsylvania Coal Company versus Mahon, 1922. Corporations get the Fifth Amendment takings clause, meaning if you pass a regulation that impacts a corporation's ability to make a profit, that is deemed a taking, and they can sue for the right to future profits lost. This creates a chilling effect, and local and state governments become much more hesitant to pass laws in the public interest for fear that corporations can claim loss of potential profits that cities and states will be on the hook to pay. Buckley versus Vallejo, 1976. The Supreme Court rules that spending money to influence elections is protected under the First Amendment, in effect saying that money is speech. Citizens United versus Federal Election Commission, 2010.
Today, the Supreme Court of Chief Justice John Roberts declared that because of the alchemy of its 19th century predecessors in deciding that corporations had all the rights of people, any restrictions on how these corporate beings spend their money on political advertising are unconstitutional.
The court's ruling threatens to undermine the integrity of elected institutions across the nation. It's a rejection of the common sense of the American people.
On your radio, on TV, and online. This is The Bill Press Show.
12 minutes before the top of the hour, Friday, February 14th, Valentine's Day. And President Obama, with a busy schedule ahead of him today, if he makes it all, he's going to try to get over to the Eastern Shore, where Joe Biden was not able to get yesterday, to meet with House Democrats, and then off to Fresno, California, to meet with some farmers out there and find out firsthand how bad the drought is, and then down to Rancho Mirage for a little summit meeting this evening with King Abdullah of Jordan. Susan Page doesn't have half that busy a day. She's Washington Bureau Chief for USA Today. Is it another snow day today, Susan? Good morning.
What a day the president's having. Isn't that all the functions of the government all within 24 hours?
Yeah, it really is. I mean, I just was wondering how he's, like from trip to trip, each one is like very different, right?
Yeah, domestic policy, foreign policy,
and
political.
Politics. Yeah, the whole thing.
Right.
Happy Valentine's Day.
Happy Valentine's Day to you.
How are you? Everything good?
Everything is good.
You guys shut down again today?
I think that I actually don't think it looks that threatening today. I think we all have to get back up, out, and go to work.
Yeah, even the federal government's only a 2-hour delay today.
Yeah,
so
yeah. And you're at work, of course.
We never left. We haven't left since Wednesday, Susan. I'm not kidding.
We've been camped out. That's right. We've been camped out together. We all have cabin fever now. Hey, Susan, so tell us about Marco Rubio. We were actually able to talk to him about immigration. Where is he now on the topic?
He was really downbeat. I did an interview with him for USA Today this week, and he said it was potentially impossible. And the reason that the Republicans are giving now for saying it's impossible is that they can't trust President Obama to enforce a deal if they reach one. Now that may be an excuse, not a reason, but the delay this week of another provision of the Affordable Care Act for medium-sized employers gives them some more ammunition to argue that.
Well, I don't know whether you asked Ruby about this. I mean, of course, John Boehner used that very same point, right?
Yes.
That the reason we're not going ahead with immigration, we can't trust the president to enforce this, right? Right. When you look at, the facts are, at the border, there are more border guards now. There are more drones, right? There's more fence. There are more people being deported than like ever before, right? So
that's true. Well, there are other reasons Republicans might not want to deal with immigration this year, like the fact that they're divided about it.
Yeah, exactly. Right. Yeah. So Rubio, though, he got, at one time, he was the guy, right, the Latino on the Republican side who was going to, this is right after 2012, he was going to save the day by pushing immigration reform. What happened?
Well, it's true, and of course they did get a bipartisan deal through the Senate, but it's just gone nowhere since then. Yeah, but this is an issue not going away.
Right.
And the 2014, the midterms in November, the Republicans may be concerned about when they see what happened with Hispanic voters in a variety of states and districts. Then, so this, it's not done, but it's not over.
Right. In terms of being over, it looks like any effort to increase the, to extend the unemployment insurance for the long-term uninsured is over.
Over. Yeah.
I mean, they've tried that how many times?
Right? They didn't shut down the government, right? They did the debt ceiling.
Right.
They're exhausted.
Yeah. Well, by the way, and I was going to ask you about that. The debt ceiling, that was a big deal, right, to get both the House and the Senate. Were you surprised that the Republicans so readily decided, look, we can't agree on what we want, and so we're just going to have a clean deal?
I was amazed. I think the Republicans were amazed.
Yeah,
you think? I mean, Boehner just decided to do it. Maybe, possibly at great personal cost. Right? This has really alarmed the Tea Party members of his caucus. I think he just decided he had had enough, and they were going to do it, and they did it. It was amazing. It was like old kind of politics where things got done.
No, exactly. But it was such a reversal, for the last 3 years. It's we'll never raise a debt ceiling unless we get something in return for doing so, right?
It violated the Boehner rule.
It did. No, right.
Which was offsetting spending cuts for any raise in the debt ceiling.
Violated the Boehner rule and the Hastert rule, both.
Exactly.
Both at one time.
Aren't those rules both in the Constitution too? I mean,
in the unwritten Republican Constitution, right?
So I don't know. Maybe does this indicate that Boehner's willing to really buck the right in his caucus? I don't know the answer to that. Do you have a sense?
Well, I think Boehner realizes that when he wants to get something done, right, that's what he has to do.
Yeah.
And that happened on the budget deal, right, before the beginning of the year. It happened on the Farm Bill.
Yeah.
And it happened on raising the debt ceiling, where only 28 Republicans voted for it, and most of those 28 Republicans who voted for it were in the leadership.
Yeah.
Right?
Although, interestingly, some members of the leadership voted against it, including Paul Ryan.
Including Paul Ryan, who has his own agenda there, right?
Yeah.
Of course, in 2016. Yeah. That's why, Susan, some people say that they haven't. I personally have, but some people have not closed the door on immigration reform, because they think that if Boehner sees that it really would be helpful, that he'll do the same thing there.
Well, Bill, I will tell you that I'm often wrong, but I'm rarely in doubt.
You want to run for Congress? All right. Hey, Susan, again, happy Valentine's. Have a good weekend.
Hey, right? You too, Bill.
Talk to you next week. Susan Page, USA Today, usatoday.com. Between Susan Page and David Jackson, man.
Yeah.
They got it covered.
This is the Bill Press Show.
For more than 18 months, the members of AFSCME 3299 have been working to secure a new contract with the University of California. With workplace injuries at UC skyrocketing and government fines related to safety deficiencies at UC hospitals skyrocketing, Local 3299's top priority has been safe staffing at the workplace.
We've been short of people for the last 5 years.
They're stretching us thin, which the students are suffering, the faculty suffering, and the patients are suffering.
While UC administrators have granted these standards to other UC workers, they have refused to make similar accommodations for AFSCME represented workers who perform the most physically demanding labor at UC.
It takes a whole team to take care of the patient. It's not just the RN and it's not just the doctor. The nurses were able to win a great contract, and AFSCME workers, the patient care workers and service workers, they're part of the team and they deserve that same fair contract too.
We take pride into working for the university, and we feel like the university doesn't value the work that we do.
But the second-class treatment of AFSCME workers doesn't end at safety and staffing. On wages, benefits, and other issues, UC refuses to offer AFSCME 3299 members the same respect they afford their other workers.
I have 3 jobs because what the university pays me is just not enough to make a living for my family and myself.
99% of service workers in the UC system make so little money that they're eligible for at least some form of public assistance. At the same time, the number of executives in the UC system that have crossed over into making at least $250,000 a year has more than doubled since 2008.
The University of California has long been a beacon of hope and progress for those struggling for dignity and fairness. With such a proud history, it is disturbing to see the leadership of the university treat its lowest paid workers like second-class citizens.
All workers at the university deserve equal treatment.
This is the Bill Press Show.
All right, in the next hour, Alex Bolton is here as a friend of Bill for the entire hour from The Hill, and we'll go to the movies with Ann Hornaday. Peter, what's going on?
You know, you should follow us on Twitter at BP Show. I say
Of course.
that often. You can communicate with the show. You can leave us comments. But we also put a lot of good content out there, not just comments from the show, but articles that we're reading and looking at. We just sent one out from BuzzFeed. McKay Coppin spent 36 hours, as he calls it, on the fake campaign trail with Donald Trump. It's a very good read. McKay was with Trump on his plane, stayed at his estate, and basically said the days of the Donald Trump media frenzy are quickly coming to an end, that no one's taking him seriously anymore, not even Republicans.
36 hours with Donald Trump.
Yeah.
Fate worse than death.
It's a long time.
Yeah. Kill me, shoot me. Don't make me
This
spend 36
is the
hours
Bill
with Donald
Press
Trump.
Show.
You wouldn't let money just blow out of your house. So when your AC or heater is on, make sure the doors, windows, and fireplace flue are shut tight. If you're headed out, turn down the AC or lower the heat by 10 degrees. And always keep your water heater set at 120. A little bit of common sense goes a long way. Get more great tips at energysaver.gov.
So, I'm kind of new here, but I've noticed a trend. My human does this funny thing where she goes around and gets all my toys, and then she hides them in that basket by the door. You know, but it's always the same basket, and it's always in the same place. And then she acts so surprised when I find them, but, you know, she's putting them in the same basket. Again. It's like, hello? That's where you put it last time. You were the worst at hide and go seek.
Hey, hello, and a happy Valentine's Day this Friday, February 14th. So good to see you today. Lots of love out to you. And what everybody's talking about. Lots to talk about here on Free Speech TV and on our video stream. Of course, youtube.com/Tawker, TawkrTV. And it's the weather that everybody's talking about, this big snowstorm blanketing the East Coast all the way from Georgia up to Maine, closing down just about everything, airports and train service and schools and the federal government. Most stores and businesses that I saw yesterday were closed as well because nobody was out. Vice President Biden wasn't even able to go over to Cambridge, Maryland, on the Eastern Shore to address the House Democratic Caucus. The Secret Service said it was too dangerous to travel. Things are back to about half operation today. The federal government on a 2-hour delay. Schools, for the most part, remain closed. And today, President Obama is scheduled to go over to Cambridge, Maryland, on his way then to California, first in Fresno, to discuss, find out more, and see firsthand the effects of the drought, and then down to Rancho Mirage, California, for a summit meeting this evening with King Abdullah of Jordan. On the weather front, Mayor de Blasio in New York in a little hot water. You know how it is with the mayor. They criticize you if you shut down the schools because of the snow, and Mayor de Blasio is getting criticized now because he kept the schools open despite the snow. Who wants to be mayor anyway? You can't win for losing. And over in Sochi, the United States tied for second in overall medals with the Netherlands, and we'll have a we'll check in with Sochi here. All of that coming up on this Friday edition of the Bill Press Show. Remember, we'd love to hear from you at our toll-free number, 866-55-PRESS.
This is the Bill Press Show.
Don't look at me. Your hair's a bit frizzy today. Oh, you should pick that up. Oh, you're such a dork, loser. Here, let me help you with that. Oops.
Every day, kids witness bullying.
Oh, look. Your crush is looking at you. Poor you.
They want to help, but don't know how.
See, no one here's gonna help you, because no one
Teach your
likes
kids how to be more than a bystander. Visit stopbullying.gov.
If you drive buzzed, it could cost you around $10,000. You'll face major legal fees, major fines, and steep insurance penalties. You could lose everything. Nothing kills a buzz like getting pulled over for buzz driving, because buzz driving is drunk driving.
When some people struggle with their mortgage payments, they become frozen, petrified. Not knowing what to do, they do nothing. But the people who take action are far more likely to get the most positive outcome. Making home affordable is a free government program. Call now to talk one-on-one with a housing expert about the options that are right for you. Real help, real answers, right now.
Here at the GED Pep Talk Center, we have pep talkers standing by to get you motivated for your GED diploma. Text the name Terry to 69222 for a sympathetic pep talk.
You show people what you really are.
Or for a gentle pep talk, text the name Deborah.
You know you're going to make people very proud of you.
And if that's not enough, text the name Danny for an extreme pep talk.
Prove everyone wrong. Show them you're the boss.
Get your GED pep talk and find free GED classes. Text the name of the person you want a pep talk from to 69222.
Did you see the world differently? Did you celebrate the victory?
So today, I state clearly and with conviction America's commitment to seek the peace and security of a world without nuclear weapons.
Did you stand up against our greatest threat? Change the world.
Broadcasting around the nation, on your radio, on your TV, and online. This is The Bill Press Show.
And a happy Valentine's Day to all of you this Friday, February 14. Good morning, good morning. Great to see you this morning. We are coming to you live all the way across this great land of ours, coast to coast, on your local progressive talk radio station, on Free Speech TV, and on our video stream, of course, worldwide at TawkrTV, youtube.com/TawkrTV. Whether you're listening or watching this morning, welcome to the program, and thank you for being part of it. You can really be part of it, of course, by joining the conversation anytime. We invite your comments. Not only invite your comments, what you've got to say is important and worthwhile as anything that we on this side of the microphone have to say. So give us a call at 866-55-PRESS at any time, or send us your comments on Twitter at BP Show, or on Facebook at facebook.com/BillPressShow. And you will join our snowbound team for the last 2 days. We've been keeping very close company. We're really getting sick of each other by now. But,
what do you mean by that? What are you trying to say?
Peter Rockburn and Elisa Murphy.
Good
right?
morning.
Good morning, guys.
Happy Friday.
Yeah, good to see Friday here.
If it snowed today, I mean, it's supposed to snow today, but if we had to work tomorrow, it would be a real problem.
3 nights in a row.
3 nights in a
All
row.
in the same bed.
I'm out of clean clothes.
Right.
Cyprian snores.
We all know you're out of clean clothes. Alicia Cruz has the phones covered. She's in back in today, and Cyprian Bolding taking care of salting the sidewalks and running the video cams.
That is the funniest thing. That is the funniest thing ever. Right. Look, he's got a picture of it. He walks around with a bag of salt when it's icy out.
And we have to introduce our guest this morning, who made it in on the Metro this morning, Alexander Bolton. Covers the Senate for The Hill, and a longtime friend of mine. Alex, it's good to see you.
Thanks for having me. Great to see you.
Thanks for coming in and braving the elements this morning. Yeah, Cyprian, our videographer, we were talking earlier. I came in with him this morning, and I can tell you firsthand, he walks the weather like this with his own bag of salt. And sprinkles it.
It's incredible.
In front of him as he walks.
That's pretty smart, because I
here you go. There you go.
There he goes.
Get out of here.
Uh-oh, injury in the studio.
Don't slip, dude.
I almost wiped out on the way to over here, and I had to do the split step. Have you been watching the Olympics when the ski jumpers they launch themselves 100 yards and then they land in like a split step? It's kind of like it's kind of like Bruno Mars at the Super Bowl, like the split step. Like that's how they land.
Yeah.
They don't want to get too far.
And did you do that? I mean,
I did. I managed to stay up by using the split step technique I saw on NBC.
It's hairy out there, man.
There's a word for that when you're skiing, and I now forget. I haven't skied in so long, I forget what it is. But anyway, I'm glad you survived. Right. Otherwise, because we don't have any insurance here, so you would have been on your own. You would have been on your own, dude.
I was wondering, if I broke my wrist, would I still have to come in, or?
Of course you would.
Damn right.
Of course you would.
Absolutely. Well, you cover these issues. You will be pleased to know that we now know Republicans have tried. God knows they have tried to repeal Obamacare. Mm-hmm. 47 times they voted in the House to do so, I think it is. And so Michelle Bachmann was asked a couple of days ago, well, if you guys in the House can't do it, how are we going to get rid of Obamacare? She's got the answer. Divine intervention. Here she is.
I really do. I believe that God listens to his people, and I think as believers humble themselves, confess their sins, and pray, I think God hears our hearts. And he moves in miraculous ways. I'm not getting up. The reason why I ran for president in 2012 was to repeal Obamacare.
So I'm not giving up. I'm counting on God to do it, right? We just confess our sins, Alex. Everything will be fine, right?
Yeah,
we're going to miss her, aren't we?
I think you are. I think we're going to miss her. Who's next on deck? I mean, who are you looking at the bench players? Who's going to step up and fill her role?
Well, you deal with these people every day. You tell me. I mean, maybe Steve Stockman or?
Well, Steve Stockman's running against Cornyn. If he beats Cornyn in that Texas primary, he would be great to cover in the Senate. Cornyn is very cautious these days. I guess there's always Steve King.
Steve King, yeah.
He likes to rip one off every now and then, and I guess there's always Louis Gohmert.
Louis Gohmert, right?
I think is lead crazy.
But Michelle Bachmann is a lot more attractive than Louis Gohmert, and I think
right.
she makes for better television.
And she's crazier.
She is crazier. Right. I think she's crazier.
Yeah. So Alex Bolton is here with us as a friend of Bill this entire hour. We'll be joined by Ann Hornaday from the Washington Post to talk movies at the half. And in the next hour, we're going to Sochi to check up on the U.S. Olympics team. But first, Peter, Alex, with the big stories of the day.
On the Olympic team, by the way, what the hell is going on with the United States speed skaters? They are some of the best in the world. Typically, it's a sport that we usually do pretty well in, but we're not doing so well this time around. Heather Richardson is the top-ranked women's skater in the world. She finished 7th in the 1,000-meter. Brittany Bowe is the world record holder. She finished 8th in hers. So now everybody is pointing fingers at Under Armour. They are the company that designed the speed skating suits that the U.S. Olympic team that they're all wearing. It's called the Mach 39. It was a venture that Under Armour put together with Lockheed Martin to try and make these space-age speed skating suits. And some of the skaters have been complaining, and they're not doing so well. So a lot of people are wondering whether or not the suits have anything to do with the shortcomings of the speed skaters.
When you start blaming the uniform or blaming the clothes. Don't I remember in the Summer Olympics there was something about the bathing suits?
Well, they were saying that some of the bathing suits were giving an unfair advantage because they made them. But
now that it's giving an unfair disadvantage.
There you go. Today is Valentine's Day. You have something else to say, I can tell.
No, Alex had.
I was just say, well, there seems to be a lot of blame gaming going on in the Olympics. I mean, the snowboarders were complaining about the half pipe being too slushy. Now now the speed skaters are blaming the suits for being too tight or creating an air bubble that creates drag on their bodies. And so, I think that. But I was glad to see the Americans swept the slope style event, even if we only win the events that we invent. At least we got some medals, which is nice.
Yeah, right. Yeah. And then the bobsled guy blamed the bathroom door,
It is Valentine's Day today. Then if you want to shop at some places around the country, you can score yourself a pretty sweet deal. Amazon is offering one-day shipping on any jewelry purchase that you buy on Amazon.com. If you shop at Barnes & Noble, they're offering $10 off a $40 purchase of Godiva chocolates. If you go to Boston Market, you can get a free dessert if you purchase anything there. And Chili's is offering a free dessert with their entree as well. There's a whole list of them. They are on the International Business Times. I'm going to tweet out that link in case you want to see how you can score there.
By the way, you know who's really suffering this Valentine's Day? Flower delivery companies. Pro Flowers, local florists, because, they just can't, they can't get through, right? The trucks aren't running, they can't get through. And so there's an article in the Washington Post this morning that says, consider it Valentine's weekend. If you get the flowers anytime in the next 3 days, that's what counts.
And let's say hello to a South Florida man by the name of Telma Botcherby.
Hi, Telma.
NBC Miami reports about Telma's dog, Ruby, who had a tick, and so this man thought that the best way to get rid of the tick would be with a lighter. So he took the lighter. Hang on.
No,
I'm just going to tell you the story. Let me stop here. The story has a happy ending.
Oh, all right.
But we have to get there first.
All right.
He takes the lighter out. He tries to burn the tick off of the dog. The dog has this tick medication already on her, which is flammable. So the dog catches fire. The dog then runs to the man to try and get some help. The man then catches fire. The man then grabs the dog, runs to the swimming pool, and jumps in, put the flames out. Everybody's going to be okay, but the bottom line is don't try and take a tick off of your dog with a live flame.
Actually, I read a slightly different version of that story where actually what happened was it was the guy's wife saw a tick crawling across the floor and tried to use one of those fire starters to torch the tick on the floor. And the dog was a skittish dog, and it went running across the kitchen floor, ran over the flame, burst into flames. She started screaming hysterically, and her husband ran into wherever it was, the kitchen, grabbed the dog, jumped into the pool. So the version of the story I read is that she really wasn't all that stupid. Like she was doing something that it was the dog who was stupid.
I don't know. I think using a flamethrower to get a tick off your floor.
Coming the Olympics.
Yeah.
It's not the brightest thing you could do. I would put it that way.
Yeah. There you go.
Aren't you happy to see these serious stories that we talk about here on the Bill Press Show? I mean, this news news you can't use, as they call it on MSNBC. Let's talk about something more serious that happened in your line of what you cover, Alex, which is with the Senate, the big vote on the debt ceiling, which had a very interesting kind of backstory on it. So the House surprised everybody with John Boehner by saying, "Okay, we'll just give up. We don't need anything. We'll just do a clean debt ceiling." And then it goes to the Senate, where it was also a little dicey there, right?
Well, usually the way it works is if things get past the House and are reasonable, which this clean debt limit was in the eyes of the Democrats at least, it had a huge Democratic support in the House. The assumption was that if the Tea Party caucus in the House can let Boehner do this, or if Boehner's willing to brave the Tea Party caucus in the House, the Senate should be smooth sailing.
Yeah, right.
And it caught everyone by surprise on Wednesday when that wasn't the case. And we knew there was something wrong when, during the lunch before the big vote, things ran a half hour over, and this Republican senators came out of that room, headed to the floor with these stony looks on their face, and that's when reporters started to wonder, uh-oh, they may not have the votes after all. And it was a really dramatic vote. It lasted for about 45 minutes, and it was, the press galleries were packed. And McConnell looked incredibly uncomfortable, the Senate Republican leader. The Republicans were milling about the floor, all kind of staring at each other. It was like a Mexican standoff. Wow. Who's going to take this tough vote? Yeah. And they needed 5 Republican votes to push this thing past the filibuster. Just to put the context,
this vote was for cloture because Ted Cruz insisted, no, we're not going to let this sail through with 51. We want to get 60, right?
Right.
And that meant that some Republicans who didn't want to go that way were going to have to bite the bullet, right?
Exactly. And what McConnell tried to do at this meeting that went on, for an hour and a half, or before the vote, is he tried to convince his colleagues to drop the filibuster threshold, to let it pass with a simple majority so that only Democrats would be voting for it. And it was a pretty amazing request because nothing in the Senate gets passed with a simple majority. Everything requires 60 votes. And so McConnell could have spared himself and his colleagues a bunch of tough votes, but Ted Cruz, who supposedly was making nice with his colleagues after the whole government shutdown thing last year, he reared his fearsome head at this lunch and said, no way, I'm not going to drop this objection.
So how did they get to 60?
Well, they were stuck at 59. There were 4 Republicans who voted for it. Mark Kirk, Susan Collins of Maine, Bob Corker, Mike Johans. They had 59, and they wanted Lisa Murkowski, the quote independent Republican from Alaska who's a centrist, to cast the 60th vote, but she refused to do it. She said, if I'm going to do it, I want to see the Republican leadership team do it too. I'm tired of taking hits all by myself with the Tea Party activists. I want you guys to back me up.
Good for her.
And so it was this very awkward situation. Republicans were kind of looking around uncomfortably at each other. Who's going to take the dive? And then McConnell strode right up to the dais and said in an audible voice, the whole chamber could hear it, aye. And that's when you knew it was going to pass. And if he didn't do it, the bill would have stalled.
Yeah.
But he's probably going to pay a political price for it.
In Kentucky?
In Kentucky,
or
right.
With his leadership?
No. His Senate colleagues are thrilled that he did that. He stepped up to the plate and cast the tough vote.
So then they got through the cloture, and then the same day, which is also unusual, but of course they were afraid the snowstorm was going to hit. They knew it was going to hit, so they said, we got to move ahead. So then it comes to where they only need 51 votes. How did McConnell vote on final passage?
Well, then on final passage, all the Republicans voted against it.
So
So
only Democrats voted for it.
Right.
Yeah, in the Senate.
And the argument that John Cornyn, who's also facing a Tea Party challenge in Texas from Steve Stockman, I mean, it's not as serious as McConnell's Tea Party challenge. Matt Bevin is a more serious candidate for sure in Kentucky. But Cornyn afterwards said, well, this procedural vote, it's just sort of window dressing. It doesn't really count. But anyone who follows the Senate knows it's those procedural votes. It's ending the filibuster. Those are the votes that count because that's what you need to get to final passage. And then once it was final passage, all the Republicans voted against it because everyone in that caucus is worried that if they vote for this debt limit, it's going to give a potential Tea Party challenger ammo either this year or in 2016.
Yeah, it really has become they're all looking over their shoulder, right? Particularly the Republicans in the primaries.
Republicans are much more worried about primary challenges than they are about general election challenges. And Mitch McConnell is one of the rare Republicans who has both. He has a credible primary challenge and a pretty tough general election challenge from Allison Lundgren Grimes. But other than that, there aren't any Republicans who are facing tough re-elections in the general election.
Right. And that raises a whole question about control of the Senate and whether we end 2014 with Democrats maybe losing a couple of seats, but retaining control, or whether Republicans are able to take the Senate and therefore have both houses of Congress. Nobody knows better what's going on over there than Alexander Bolton from The Hill. Again, join the conversation anytime. You know the number, 866-55-PRESS. We'll be right back.
This is the Bill Press Show.
A single ember that escapes from a wildfire can travel more than a mile. That single ember can ignite and destroy your home or even your community. You can't control where that ember will land, only what happens when it does. Get Fire Adapted now at fireadapted.org.
Columbine, Virginia Tech,
Tucson,
Aurora,
Fort Hood, Oak Creek,
Newtown.
Newtown,
Newtown.
Newtown.
How many more?
How many more? How many more colleges? How many more classrooms?
How many more movie theaters?
How many more houses of faith?
How many more shopping malls?
How many more street corners?
How many more?
How many more?
Enough.
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 Demand a plan.
Right now. As a mom.
As a dad. As a friend. As a husband.
As a wife.
As an American.
As an American.
As an American.
As a human being.
For the children of Sandy Hook.
Demand a plan. No more lists of names. It's not too soon.
It's too late.
Now is the time.
Before we all know someone who loved someone on that list.
No more lists.
No more.
Who they might have been. No more.
If we had just done something yesterday. It's time.
We can do better than this.
We can do better than this.
It's time.
It's time.
It's time for our leaders to act. Demand a plan. Right now.
Right now.
You! Demand it!
Enough.
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 None of us would want to be told we can't marry the person we love. As Americans, we believe in freedom. That's what I fought for as a Marine, and that's what we believe in as Republicans. Freedom means freedom for everyone. I didn't used to understand the importance of same-sex marriage, but after learning my brother was gay, I wanted the same rights for him. He was the best man at my wedding, and I want to be the best man at his. It's only fair that Calvin should have the freedom to marry the person he loves, too.
It's time for marriage.
At Earth Justice, we defend the environment in the courtroom. Join our fight. When you take a seat, you take a stand. Earth Justice, because the Earth needs a good lawyer.
So, I'm kind of new here, but I've noticed a trend. My human does this funny thing where she goes around and gets all my toys, and then she hides them in that basket by the door. You know, but it's always the same basket, and it's always in the same place. And then she acts so surprised when I find them, but she's putting them in the same basket. Again. It's like, hello, that's where you put it last time. You were the worst at hide and go seek.
This is the Bill Press Show.
All right, 26 minutes after the hour now. Hey, snow days, movie days. Ann Hornaday from the Washington Post will tell us what's out there to see, other than the Lego movie. God. Alexander Bolton is here from the Hill as a friend of Bill this hour. Alex, at the end of the when the dust settles at the end of the year, who's going to be in charge of the Senate?
I think the Republicans are.
Sorry
to break it to you, Bill, but I
hate you. Turn the mic off.
See you later.
No, do you think a flip of that many seats?
I really think so. If you look, I just think Obama's approval rating is a real problem, and it seems to me, I'm not an expert,
But are they going to vote for or against Obama, or for or against their senator?
I think it's going to be a referendum on Obama. I mean, these things usually are, and I mean, what the Democrats have going for them is they have some great candidates. I mean, they have fantastic candidates. Mark Pryor is a fantastic candidate in Arkansas. Mark Begich is a fantastic candidate in Alaska. Landrieu is great in Louisiana. Hagan's great in North Carolina.
Mary Landrieu knows Louisiana, man. I think Landrieu's conservative for some Democrats, but she knows her state and she represents it well.
She's going to do very well because she does know her state, and she's a bulldog in fighting for her state. Actually, I went out for beers with a guy who works for the administration. He'll remain nameless, but he was complaining about Landrieu. He says that Landrieu is hogging up all the oil and gas money, and that we don't even realize this. Is actually a pretty good story, but that because the Democrats are so worried about keeping that seat, they pretty much let her do whatever the heck she wants. And apparently, he was complaining that all these federal proceeds from drilling oil, gas, etc., are going disproportionately to Louisiana because she knows how to throw her weight around. She doesn't. Yeah. She knows how to get what her state needs, and I think that's why. And I think her constituents know that too, and I think that's why she'll probably be in pretty good shape for re-election.
All right. So so far, we have to take a quick break. We'll come back to this after we talk movies a little bit, because you haven't told us which Democrats you think are not doing so well and could lose, and therefore Republicans take over. But he's here for another half hour too. We'll get into that. Alex Bolton from the Hill again. Movies next with Ann Hornaday.
Press Show.
So this is my computer.
This is your computer. Let's go on the internet.
Let's go. Click it.
Yes.
Okay.
I cursor in between the R and the E. Pressing dot. I want you to just push the area.
She's gonna love me all over again.
That's it. Jamaica, here you go.
Here we go.
Good job.
Thank you. Thank you. And I did it by myself. Feel smarter.
So, I'm kind of new here, but I've noticed a trend. My human does this funny thing where she goes around and gets all my toys, and then she hides them in that basket by the door. But it's always the same basket, and it's always in the same place. And then she acts so surprised when I find them, but, she's putting them in the same basket. Again. It's like, hello, that's where you put it last time. You were the worst at hide and go seek.
So, same time next week?
Well, of course. Put away a few bucks, feel like $1 million. For free tips to help you save, go to Feed the Pig.
All right. I know this isn't any fun to talk about, but we should. Okay. So who's going to do what?
I'll pack the dead batteries.
Great.
I'll only put what I don't need into a duffel bag.
Perfect. That's totally unhelpful.
No problem.
Meanwhile, I will try to comfort everyone by speaking in a calm voice.
And I'll try to get the generator going without any gas.
Oh, let's not forget the cell phones, which probably won't work.
Right.
And who is going to handle supplies?
I can forget to do a list for us.
Thanks, pal.
Well, I think we couldn't be any less prepared. I'm proud of you guys.
Talk to your kids about who to call, where to meet, what to pack. Visit ready.gov/kids for tips and information.
Hey, thanks for stopping by. You know, I followed your character since the first episode. I'm a big fan. Big fan.
Thank you.
And listen, your storyline, it makes for incredible TV drama. Thing is, your drug use is very adult content. Too adult for the kids. So I'm gonna have to block you.
Oh, man.
Yeah. Well, have a good one.
You're a nice lady.
Seen on Free Speech TV and online on TawkrTV. This is the Bill Press Show.
All right, 33 minutes after the hour, the Bill Press Show coming to you live from our nation's capital on your local progressive talk radio station and on Free Speech TV and on our video stream at TawkrTV, youtube.com/Tawker, TAWKR-TV. Brought to you today by the International Brotherhood of Teamsters, the good men and women of the Teamsters Union. We all live better because of their good work, and you can find out more about all the things they are doing these days, all the good areas of the economy that they are active in at Teamster.org. Teamster.org. Here we are on a Friday, a snow weekend. What the hell? We have a big holiday for some people on Monday. What better time to go to the movies, and what better person to know what we ought to see and what's out there than Ann Hornaday, movie critic for the Washington Post. Hello, Ann. Good morning.
Hello, Bill.
Welcome back, and say hello to Alex Bolton, who covers the Senate for the Hill newspaper here.
Oh, hi, Alex.
Hi, Ann. In studio with us as a friend of Bill. So, is there any? What's up with this Lego movie, Ann? Well, I keep reading about it. Everybody's amazed by how well it's doing.
I know, and unfortunately, I was one of the. I was otherwise engaged for the screening, so I didn't get to review it, which I'm really kind of mad about now because everybody loves it so much. It got great reviews. I still haven't seen it. I haven't had time, but that is definitely the first on my list of stuff I want to see. It's just getting raves. Apparently, it's just wonderfully done, very clever, very sort of self-referential in all the best ways, bright, shiny, and fun.
All animation, right?
All animation, yeah. And I've heard comparisons to, we've taken Pixar so for granted in recent years, but it's reminding people of the quality. It has that kind of quality stamp of a classic Pixar film.
It also, when I first heard about it, had that stamp of stop taking things from my childhood and turning them into garbage today, which is what they did with that Battleship movie, and they've done it with a couple of other things. But, I mean, I haven't heard a bad word about it.
Not one bad word. I agree.
It's amazing.
I know.
But it came out too late to be nominated for this year, right? I mean, so it's...
Yeah, but I mean, I think with the animation category, they're so free, I think it stands a good chance of getting nominated for next year.
Speaking of this year's nominations, I took two of our grandchildren to see Frozen over the holidays, and that has made more money, I think, than any other Disney film I read somewhere. Or something.
Well, what did you think? Did you all enjoy it?
Well, I spent a lot of time cleaning popcorn up off the floor.
Oh, yeah. Well, that's what you do. That's your job description. That's okay.
No,
Because I loved it. I thought it was, again, that's
did.
a throwback to that wonderful, just a classic. And the short film in front of it was pure. I would go just for that.
Oh, I didn't see that.
Oh, it's wonderful. It's a short subject with Mickey Mouse where they kind of because Frozen's in 3D, so they kind of have fun with 3D technology and the old Mickey Mouse, Steamboat Bill Jr. I think it was Steamboat Bill Jr. Cartoon. It's so clever and so beautiful and so poignant and meaningful in terms of just sort of reaching back into history and kind of bringing it up while still respecting the roots of the form. It was really beautiful.
Yeah. Again, I was distracted a lot, but I did.
That's right.
I did
well, you're doing your job,
and I thought it was beautifully done. Alex just had a rave review of it. Go ahead, Alex.
I saw Her, and I thought it was, although it was a little bit sad, actually, a little bit depressing.
Yeah.
I felt it was very realistic, and I could definitely see, maybe not myself, but I could see people falling in love with a computer at some point in the future. And actually, the next day, I went to the supermarket and I saw two guys wearing Google Glass, and they looked a little bit like cyborgs. And and I thought this is where we're going. But I don't know. I can't see this winning the Best Picture because I felt it was like a little bit sad and in some ways almost too intimate for a Best Picture. I don't know what your thoughts are on that.
Well, I think I agree with you that it probably isn't in the running for Best Picture. It probably won't win, but the fact that it's even been nominated, I think, is fantastic, and I hope that it brings attention because I think within that sort of field of heavy hitters, this one is such this. You kind of feel like protective of it, like a fragile little thing, because it's been so finely crafted. I mean, it's just the most exquisitely written, most exquisitely acted and filmed. I mean, it's so subtle and just tonally so beautiful that it. I think it could easily get overshadowed by some of the more showier things. So I'm really glad that it's even in the running so that we're even talking about it in Oscar time.
Wow.
Plus, which I feel kind of like, even though there's like a good little rom-com opening today, which is a remake of About Last Night, but it's a good balance. I mean, it's a really deeply romantic movie. I mean, it's just one of those, it's hard to get those right. And so for those Valentine's Day moviegoers who are looking for something special, go to Her. It's really beautiful.
Go to Her. And you mentioned there's another one opening today?
Well, yeah, today's the day of the 80s remakes. We have like 3... you were talking about stop taking things from my childhood and turning them into... yet again, they're repurposing everything from our young lives. But they've done remakes of Endless Love, RoboCop, and About Last Night.
Oh, my God.
This RoboCop movie looks so bad.
Well, and speaking of going to the store with Google, it's like this is another one, which when it came out, it felt futuristic and kind of unattainable. And of course now with drone technology, it's very subtle about like the drone technologies and
and the military
surveillance culture. It's like, a lot of that stuff has actually come to pass. And unmanned technology.
Well, and what the military is developing right now are these exoskeletons.
There you go.
So
Very
basically,
RoboCop.
it's a suit of hydraulics that helps them carry 100-pound packs and march without fatigue, and that's very much what the RoboCop suit is like.
You're exactly right. You're exactly right. So, but the About Last Night one is kind of fun. It's with Michael Ealy, Howard graduate, yay, and Joy Bryan, they're just beautiful people, and they're the kind of lead couple, and they do a very nice job playing. But the scene stealers are Regina Hall and Kevin Hart as their best friends, who, if you remember in the original movie, they're kind of bickery and trying to talk their friends out of being in a relationship. And in here, they go into improvisatory heaven, and they really crackle, and it's a lot of fun.
Yeah. Now, I have to ask you about Monuments Men.
Yes.
Look at that cast, and you think this has to be just, outstanding. Is it?
Well, I probably wouldn't say outstanding, but I think it's a strong double. It's based on this true story of an army unit that was tasked with recovering the looted artworks that Hitler's armies took in Europe during the war and returning them to their rightful owners. And it's been directed by George Clooney, who also stars as sort of the team leader. As you said, just an amazing ensemble cast: Cate Blanchett, Matt Damon, Bill Murray, John Goodman, Bob Balaban. It's amazing.
It's amazing.
But
when you look at that cast, you just say, what? They're all in the same movie?
It's kind of a no-brainer. Yeah. I think it's such a good story that I found it to be really absorbing and I just loved hearing about it. I mean, I just loved the story itself. It's a little complicated because the group doesn't work as a group. They kind of split off into these little teams, and so Clooney has to kind of catch up with every team and tell us what they're doing. And I think that structure, that kind of structural conceit, it doesn't allow the story to really attain a smooth momentum. I mean, you're always kind of changing gears, and I think that's a little bit awkward. And there's some sort of caper comedy elements to it, but then there's also some very dark, tonal, serious stuff to it too. I mean, he doesn't want to make it so lighthearted that he obliterates the larger meaning, of the war. So it's a tonal challenge as well, and I'm not sure that always works as smoothly as it could. But all in all, it's a really terrific story, and it's done quite well so far.
It's interesting to me that that's an aspect of World War II that is not often talked about, and that it would be, that Clooney would see that as a subject of a feature-length film.
Well, it's interesting because, I think one thing that he does do a really great job of is to juxtapose images and scenes in a way that kind of it puts the artwork and the search for the artwork in a context of this overall megalomania on Hitler's part, so that it doesn't become more important than the human lives that he was taking, but it becomes an expression of it and an added extension of not only was he seeking to demolish and destroy entire populations, but he was at one point going to destroy history. He wanted it all, and if he couldn't have it all, he was going to destroy it. And so I think he does do a good job of situating that enterprise within the larger megalomaniacal enterprise.
And Hornaday's movie critic for the Washington Post, our guest here on the Bill Press Show at this time, along with Alex Bolton from The Hill. I hesitate to ask you about this, but I'm going to anyhow.
Okay.
What are we to make of the Woody Allen story? I mean, it's so old, and yet, is it just that we didn't deal with it at the time, or this is an attempt to really kind of destroy him on the part of Mia Farrow and her family now that he's been being honored again, by the Golden Globe, or what's going on here?
Honestly, I don't know. I mean, those are all questions that are far above my pay grade to answer. So I think the only
mine.
And shoes keep dropping, and people keep talking, and you're right. I mean, it's an old story that's been completely repurposed for this new technology like Twitter, which is really fascinating to me. And there's a whole generation who never knew about it, so for them it is news, even though for us old people it's like, oh, well, we heard about this back in the 90s. But I think for my part, and people can have, people have decided, or they're in the process of deciding, and that is their, I mean, everybody's dealing with it in their own way. I think for a film critic, though, some people might decide to stop seeing his movies or boycott them because they just feel like it's too disturbing and too, the charges are just too grave, and he hasn't responded adequately enough to make them feel like they can support his work. And I respect that decision, but critics don't have that luxury. I mean, I still have to go to his, see his movies and judge them on their merits. And so I, earlier this week, I wrote a blog post and they published it in the paper just about that whole issue of separating the art from the artist, which we're continually, having to do. And in a Twitter age and in a ubiquitous media age, when artists are more verbal and about all of their views, and you might discover that someone whose work you really admire, you don't necessarily like their views on things. And so, we have to do this in all sorts of different ways, all the time. And so I wrote a little bit about that kind of mental exercise.
Yeah.
That's a tough issue to sort of
very tough issue
talk about, but that's the way to go about it, I think.
Alex has this challenge every day dealing with the United States senators. He has to separate, not charges this serious, but separate whether you like them or not, or what do you think about their personal life with what they're doing, right, with their jobs. So
that's true. I mean, you tend to, I guess, be a little more sympathetic to the people who are actually nice to you, or the people you think are good people or friendly folk, but what they are like in real life and kind of their work, their oeuvre, the policies they push can be very different. And
exactly.
I mean, the Weekly Standard, which we get in the office. I'm not a regular reader, but it had a pretty good piece talking about how, in Hollywood, where you get this confluence of narcissism, money, and power, you can get these real kind of like over the top I guess, over the top expressions of sickness, maybe, or of megalomania, and I guess the question is that what's happening with Woody
narcissism
Allen?
in Hollywood? I never knew
or Washington, for that matter.
There you go, the two capitals. All right. Hey, and so good to be with you, to have you with us again this morning, and to be with you. Thank you so much.
It's a pleasure. Thanks so much.
All right, you're great.
Stay warm.
And Hornaday, right, movie critic for the Washington Post, WashingtonPost.com.
This is the Bill Press Show.
It is possible to read the history of this country as one long struggle to extend the liberties established in our Constitution to everyone in America. In other words, who, according to our laws and culture, gets to be considered a person? The law creates legal personhood, and movements create law and change culture. So, how have the courts passed laws to shape our culture? That history goes way back before Citizens United. 1819, Dartmouth College versus Woodward, Supreme Court case, turned a corporate charter from a government-granted charter to a contract. This ruling gave corporations standing within the Constitution. 1886, Santa Clara County versus Southern Pacific Railroad. Though the court did not rule on corporate personhood, the decision was subsequently cited as a precedent to hold that a private corporation is entitled to the same 14th Amendment rights of due process and equal protection as human beings. This makes it impossible for us to make laws that treat local businesses any differently than giant multinational corporations, even if their business practices are deemed to be harmful to workers, the environment, and communities, or if they have a history of violating the law. Hale versus Henkel, 1906. The court granted corporations the Fourth Amendment search and seizure protection. Dodge versus Ford Motor Company, 1919. The Michigan Supreme Court says the business corporation is organized and carried on primarily for the profit of the stockholders. Stockholder primacy is established. The purpose of the corporation, according to the court, is no longer to serve the public good, as it had been. It is now to maximize profit for shareholders above all else. Pennsylvania Coal Company versus Mahon, 1922. Corporations get the Fifth Amendment takings clause, meaning if you pass a regulation that impacts a corporation's ability to make a profit, that is deemed a taking, and they can sue for the right to future profits lost. This creates a chilling effect, and local and state governments become much more hesitant to pass laws in the public interest for fear that corporations can claim loss of potential profits that cities and states will be on the hook to pay. Buckley versus Vallejo, 1976. The Supreme Court rules that spending money to influence elections is protected under the First Amendment, in effect saying that money is speech. Citizens United versus Federal Election Commission, 2010.
Today, the Supreme Court of Chief Justice John Roberts declared that because of the alchemy of its 19th century predecessors in deciding that corporations had all the rights of people, any restrictions on how these corporate beings spend their money on political advertising are unconstitutional.
The court's ruling threatens to undermine the integrity of elected institutions across the nation. It's a rejection of the common sense of the American people.
Seen on Free Speech TV and online on TawkrTV. This is the Bill Press Show.
11 minutes before the top of the hour here on a Friday morning, Valentine's Day, and a good day to mention that, they say Virginia's for lovers. Well, as of this morning, Virginia is for all lovers. Even for same-sex couples. A federal judge yesterday in Virginia said that state's ban on same-sex marriage is unconstitutional. That's been happening in state after state now, particularly those states, of course, where there is a constitutional amendment against same-sex marriage, and they are falling one by one. I don't know whether... I know that under Governor Terry McAuliffe, Virginia is not going to appeal that decision to the Supreme Court. Terry McAuliffe, I'm sure, welcomes that decision. In studio with us this hour is a friend of Bill, Alexander Bolton, a good friend from the Hill. Alex, again, good to see you. I'm going to talk immigration because the Senate passed its immigration bill. Mm-hmm. Again, this is a case where, you've been around there long enough. I remember when the Senate was the graveyard for bills. Now it's the other way around, isn't it? The House seems to be.
Well, it depends what bills you're talking about. I mean, the House, all those repeal Obamacare bills that have passed the House, those have died in the Senate.
But bills that passed with a bipartisan vote in the Senate, like immigration reform, for example. Farm bill for so long, nowhere in the House. And now immigration, nowhere in the House. Right.
That's true. And what we saw at the beginning of this Congress, the beginning of 2013, the fiscal cliff deal, that emerged out of the Senate, and that was the big issue that started everything off. The question is, all these Bush tax cuts are coming up for renewal. Right. What are we going to do? It seemed like they were all going to lapse, and then the deal, for better or for worse, Democrats now think it was a bad deal, that came out of the Senate, and then you had the immigration reform as well, and so it looked like the Senate was where things were going to get started because that's the only place where there was a modicum of bipartisan cooperation.
Now, on immigration, now that it has passed the Senate and going nowhere in the House, Senator Schumer came up with a sort of unusual, innovative approach this week to do what?
Well, he has a couple of approaches. One, the first one he announced was, well, the House Republicans say they don't want to move on immigration reform because they can't trust Obama to enforce the law. So that's easy. We'll just put the enactment date of the law in 2017 when he leaves office. So let's pass it now, and we'll have a provision that it doesn't go into effect until 2017, and that way that you can't blame Obama for not passing immigration reform. And
is he just trying to call their bluff?
Yes, exactly. Yeah, he is trying to call their bluff, and actually, Democrats would be fine with that. That would be a big victory for them if you postpone the enactment date. No problem. This bill is going to take 10 years or more to enact anyway. Actually, more like 13 if you look at the path to citizenship.
Sure. All right. So, and you say he had another approach?
Well, his other approach was the discharge petition, and this is how. When the Republicans controlled the House back in 2002 and the Senate in 2002, this is how the Democrats got campaign finance reform passed. They got the discharge petition circulated, and so it's a rarely used procedure, but the way it works is that John Boehner is usually in charge or always in charge of what comes to the floor. However, if a majority of the House signs a petition, they can actually circumvent him and get a bill to the floor. And what the Democrats have always said is, if you put immigration reform on the floor of the House, it'll pass.
Right.
The problem is Boehner won't put it there. Schumer's now saying, let's use the discharge petition. However, when he was asked about it earlier this year, or actually last year, he didn't think that was going to get anywhere, but now I guess he's getting a little bit desperate.
Well, it does prove, it seems to me, that both of those ideas, whether either one really comes to fruition, is that there's still life in immigration reform. I mean, we shouldn't necessarily totally write it off, I guess. And on that point, we're going to have to wrap it up here. Alex, great to have you here.
Thanks for having me. It was a lot of fun.
Come back again soon.
Sure.
Okay. You have to talk to Bob Cusack because he comes in as a friend of Bill often too. So you guys, maybe you can flip a coin, whatever.
Well, we'll arm wrestle over
it. Like you both at any time. And I'll be back and tell you what President Obama's got a wild day today. We'll tell you all about it when we come back.
This is the Bill Press Show.
For more than 18 months, the members of AFSCME 3299 have been working to secure a new contract with the University of California. With workplace injuries at UC skyrocketing and government fines related to safety deficiencies at UC hospitals skyrocketing, Local 3299's top priority has been safe staffing at the workplace.
We've been short of people for the last 5 years.
They're stretching us thin, which the students are suffering, the faculty suffering, and the patients are suffering.
While UC administrators have granted these standards to other UC workers, they have refused to make similar accommodations for AFSCME represented workers who perform the most physically demanding labor at UC.
It takes a whole team to take care of the patient. It's not just the RN and it's not just the doctor. The nurses were able to win a great contract And AFSCME workers, the patient care workers and service workers, they're part of the team, and they deserve that same fair contract too.
We take pride into working for the university, and we feel like the university doesn't value the work that we do.
But the second-class treatment of AFSCME workers doesn't end at safety and staffing. On wages, benefits, and other issues, UC refuses to offer AFSCME 3299 members the same respect they afford their other workers.
I have 3 jobs because what the university pays me is just not enough to make a living for my family and myself.
99% of service workers in the UC system make so little money that they're eligible for at least some form of public assistance. At the same time, the number of executives in the UC system that have crossed over into making at least $250,000 a year has more than doubled since 2008.
The University of California has long been a beacon of hope and progress for those struggling for dignity and fairness. With such a proud history, it is disturbing to see the leadership of the university treat its lowest paid workers like second-class citizens.
All workers at the university deserve equal treatment.
This is the Bill Press Show.
All right, for President Obama, it is 3 big stops in 3 totally different directions today. First, weather permitting, he will be going over to Cambridge, Maryland, on the Eastern Shore here to meet with the House Democrats who are having their retreat there these couple of days. And then he hops on Air Force One, as long as they have the runway plowed at Andrews Air Force Base, off to Fresno, California, meet with some farmers in that area. I'm sure Jerry Brown will be there as well, Governor, to talk about the drought conditions in California and how the federal government might help. And then he goes down to Palm Springs, Rancho Mirage, right next door, for a summit meeting with King Abdullah of Jordan. Then he will spend the rest of the weekend playing golf and binge watching television, True Detective, and maybe House of Cards.
This is the Bill Press Show. Broadcasting around the nation, on your radio, on your TV, and online. This is The Bill Press Show.
It's Valentine's Day 2014. Happy Valentine's, everybody. And welcome to the program this Friday morning. Good to see you. I know you're anxious to get into the weekend. A lot of binge television watching this weekend. House of Cards is up. You can watch all 13. I love the fact that all 13, they just released them all at one time. Just go, 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 go.
I'm thinking about watching it backwards this season. Starting at 13 and going backwards.
Well, whatever you do, you can't start until another hour. We have one more hour left, and then you're free to do whatever you want for this weekend. One more hour of the Bill Press Show, coming to you live coast to coast on your local progressive talk radio station and on our video stream worldwide. I don't know how many countries we have up today, but we welcome all of you all around the planet to youtube.com/TawkrTV, TawkrTV. We also welcome our team back this morning, Peter Ogburn and Elisa Murphy. The whole crowd made it through the snow this morning.
Yeah, all
and
here.
Still here.
Slipping and sliding into the studio with no accidents reported as yet. Alicia Cruz, among our team, Alicia Cruz here, made it in this morning too. Yesterday.
I want to go home.
She was home shoveling snow.
I want to go home. I'm tired of looking at the walls of this studio, man.
And our videographer, Cyprian Balding, who has his own one-man snow removal operation.
This is the greatest thing ever. I cannot get over how awesome
we got to just a second. We want to also introduce Sam Baker is here from the National Journal to talk about the Affordable Care Act. Sam, the reference to this, Cyprian walks around with a bag of salt.
That's smart.
Right?
Yeah.
I've never heard of that, but why the hell not?
I could have used that on my way.
If you have any trouble, you just... So it's sort of like, you see them for at weddings where the little girls are throwing rose petals.
Yeah. Salt to the road.
It's pretty great.
Only for himself, by the way. No.
Hey.
Other people, I guess.
Every man for himself in weather like this.
That's what it is. Speaking of every man for himself and weather woes, Bill de Blasio up in New York has got some weather woes this morning. So here's the deal, right? This poor guy, he's been mayor for 6 weeks, and there have been 6 snowstorms. He's had 6 snowstorms in 6 weeks to deal with. And he's basically gotten it all right. But they did make the decision Wednesday night. Carmen Farina, the school superintendent, announced that they were going to keep New York schools open. They made the decision Wednesday night. Often, you don't know until early in the morning whether the school's going to be closed or not. Wednesday night maybe didn't look as severe as it turned out to be Thursday morning. But she said they made a decision because for many of these kids, the only breakfast and lunch that they get is at school.
Yeah.
And she said they didn't have to come in, but they left the schools open for those who could come in. Well, it turned out that only half of the students basically made it in. And the storm turned out to be really as bad as they predicted. And the mayor got some crap for it from parents who said, "Why are you doing this?" Here is how he defended himself.
What the state does when it makes its declarations is about enabling localities to do certain things and enabling state agencies to do certain things. We've made abundantly clear that we know this city is functioning and that the city agencies are doing their job, and that given the information we had, it was right to go ahead with school. It's not something you do lightly to close school.
Right. Not something you do lightly. I got to tell you, the job of mayor, Sam, is really tough. You're damned if you do, damned if you don't, right?
Especially New York.
Yeah.
We should be like 5 cities. Really.
Yeah.
It's not.
Right.
No, we complain here when they close the schools ahead of time, before one snowflake has even fallen, right?
But that's kind of how we roll down here.
And then if they don't close them, then we complain about that.
The other side starts to complain. Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So he was caught in the middle. But what ended up, so one of the parents whose daughter had a hard time getting to school yesterday was Al Roker from NBC News, and he went off after the mayor, saying, what was the mayor doing? And the mayor says, well, the weather forecast wasn't exactly accurate. Al Roker came back and said, oh, no, the weather forecast was right on the money, dude, right? Yeah. Al Roker's in Sochi. He's having this.
He's having a Twitter fight.
This Twitter fight with de Blasio, and de Blasio finally ended it when he said, "I respect Al Roker a lot, but it's a different thing to run a city than to give the weather on TV." Ooh, I like that. Score. Right. So we're going to talk Affordable Care Act here with Sam for the first half hour, and then Sally Jenkins from the Washington Post, great sports columnist, joins us from Sochi to bring us the update on the games there. But first,
this is the Full Court Press.
Happy Valentine's Day, Bill.
Thank you. Happy back at you.
I know that today is a very romantic holiday for a lot of people, but not for everyone. A new study, or a survey, I should say, commissioned by the financial data platform Yodel, finds that 62% of American adults think more about money than they do about sex. They worry about money.
What age?
They worry about. Well, here's it goes a little bit deeper, and this is written up on Time magazine. So this is where we're getting the numbers from on this Yodel survey. More than a quarter of adults in romantic relationship says that money concerns affect how they want to get intimate with their partner. So like they're thinking about money problems that you share with your spouse or your beloved when you're in the mood, so to speak.
Oh, when the Dow goes down, I mean, just sort of takes all the fun out of it.
The Dow goes up and down, so that's my love life. Yes, that sounds like a country song.
Mm-hmm. Moving right along.
Yes, this is one small step for Taco Bell, one giant leap for stoners everywhere. Taco Bell has announced that they're putting out a new app that will allow you to order your Taco Bell food before you actually get to Taco Bell. So the problem that they were having is people would get to Taco Bell, and they have such a big menu that people would go, and let's be honest, you usually go to Taco Bell at 2 in the morning when you're baked. Some people. That you just sit there and you stare at the menu forever and you can't figure out what you want. So what you do now is you sit at home, you order what you want on your app, then you drive to Taco Bell, and the GPS on your phone tells that Taco Bell location how close you are, so that when you get there, your food is hot.
This is an advance for Western civilization?
Yeah, there you go. We're making progress.
Well, I don't have to worry about downloading that app because there's no way you're going to catch me in a Taco Bell.
No, it's been a while. It's been a while.
Chipotle?
Chipotle, maybe.
Chipotle, yes. Chipotle, good.
All right, okay. Happy anniversary. Today is the 25th anniversary of the band De La Soul, for the release of their debut album 3 Feet High and Rising. And so to commemorate that, you can download their entire catalog for free from their website today, starting at 11 a.m. It goes all the way until Saturday at noon, tomorrow at noon. So you got 25 hours. You can go to their website, delasoul.com. You can download all of their music for free.
It's also the 50th anniversary of Sports Illustrated, I believe, and I have seen...
Of the swimsuit issue.
Of the swimsuit issue of Sports Illustrated. I have seen the cover. It is very revealing. Check it out. Sorry we can't show you the cover, but it's... how should we describe it?
It's saucy. You should get a look at it. You should get a look at it.
Well, you're talking about the suits, right? They're really pretty suits.
Wonderful
They're really
suits.
nice suits.
Yes, that's right. The best.
Are they wearing suits?
They're the best bathing suits of all. They are birthday suits. 3 of them, shot from the rear. Yes, indeed. Boy, we're all going to get in trouble here unless we start talking the serious issues. How about the Affordable Care Act? Sam Baker, you've been covering this for the National Journal. There was some good news for the administration this week, right? With the enrollment numbers?
That's right. About 3.3 million total enrollees so far since enrollment
State
began.
and federal?
That's right. Putting everything together, although just private insurance, not counting Medicaid.
Mm-hmm.
The number of young people, which is sort of the statistics that we look at the most for premiums, is holding pretty steady on a good trajectory, not where it ultimately needs to be, but in a pretty good place. So that's 3.3 million is a lot of people. It's a good report. There is no real other way to look at it.
And 55% are women, which
That's
is
right.
significant also because women's health insurance is so important to them, and they've been, as Kathleen Sebelius said, I think, a pre-existing condition prior to the Affordable Care Act was if you were a woman, you had to pay more or maybe you couldn't even get it.
Right, and that's so many things that made women's premiums higher are now just required. So, maternity care, for instance, they can't charge you more because you might one day have a child. It's just every plan for everybody has to cover that, and that's one of the ways that women are no longer discriminated against in pricing.
And are we heading in the right direction fast enough to get to where they need to be by the end of March?
It depends on what you mean by where they need to be, but I think by any sort of reasonable standard, yes. They're not going to get to the 7 million that we talked about before healthcare.gov launched. But
CBO even lowered that to
that's right.
6 million, correct?
Correct. And they are, I think, on track to get to 6 million. We expect to see sort of a surge in March as the deadline, the final deadline comes closer. People will finally get in the game and actually buy insurance. So it's looking pretty good. The one big caveat there is that this number doesn't tell you how many people have actually paid their first month's premium.
Yeah.
And you don't truly have coverage until you do that. So that number, depending on how many people that is, that could change what the number actually is. It might not be the full 3.3 million.
Now, you alluded to, on top of the 3.3, are those who have signed up on Medicaid. Who've been able to get Medicaid as a result of the expansion of the Affordable Care Act. How many, do we know that number? That's another 3 million,
very
isn't it?
difficult to put a number on how many have gotten it because of the Affordable Care Act. Because what we get is this sort of lump number that this is how many people have gotten Medicaid since October. But a lot of those people were eligible anyway or would have been eligible anyway but are just sort of coming out of the woodwork because there's health insurance happening now in the world. Some of the estimates that are out there put the number, who are truly getting coverage because of the Medicaid expansion in the Affordable Care Act, between 1.5 and 2 million. The total number of people who've gotten it since October is closer to 6 million, I think.
Oh, really? Yeah. In how many states? Because how many, or put it the other way, how many states, how many governors have not signed on to the Affordable Care Act, Medicaid part of Affordable Care Act?
I think we're at a little bit over half the states right now. So about half the country has, about half the country hasn't signed on to the Medicaid expansion.
So that number could be, at the point I was making, I guess, could be a lot bigger, right?
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. Because some of the biggest states and with the highest number of uninsured are, ironically, the ones that won't take the Medicaid expansion, won't do anything to promote their exchange, Texas and Florida in particular. Although you are seeing pretty good results in those states despite the resistance of the governors. That's where the federal government is putting its resources.
So when you look at these numbers, the enrollment numbers came out this week, what does it tell you about the website and what does it tell you about Obamacare?
I think what it tells you about the website is sort of what those of us who'd been covering this for a long time recognized in October when the website was going poorly, which was this is a substantial problem, but the one that can be fixed. They're not going to get to 7 million, and that's mostly because of the website. They probably would have without that. But the website is working now, and enrollment is back on track. So I think it tells you that it wasn't wrong to see that as a substantive problem at the time, but it was wrong to see that as the end of the world.
Right.
And about Obamacare, I think one thing it certainly tells you is that, A, the website didn't scare people off. It didn't give the Affordable Care Act or Obamacare such a bad name that people said, forget it, I'll just...
Which a lot of people predicted would happen.
That's right. And White House officials have said, at least in retrospect, they've said that that was their greatest fear when it was broken, that they didn't know how long it was going to stay broken, and they were really afraid of people not coming back. People obviously have come back. And it tells you that there's a market for this. Or, maybe market's the wrong word, but a demand. People want health insurance. There are still things that need to happen. You still need to get some more young people into the system. That's very important, truly and substantively. But generally, people are signing up.
And don't these numbers also tell you, or shouldn't they tell Republicans that Obamacare is here to stay?
Yes. Even with the caveat I said before about how many people pay their premiums, this Obamacare is not going to collapse in on itself under its own weight, which is the thing that Republicans have been predicting for a while. If everything went wrong sort of in the right way, that was a thing that could have happened realistically, but it's almost impossible, if not just impossible, to see at this point.
So Obamacare here to stay, and yet Republicans still think that complaints about Obamacare and attacks on Obamacare are their ticket to succeed and win control of both the House and the Senate in 2014. Sam Baker covers health issues, particularly the Affordable Care Act, for the National Journal. Our guest. Your questions, your comments, your thoughts about these latest enrollment numbers on the ACA. You know how to do it. 866-55-PRESS.
This is the Bill Press Show. Seen on Free Speech TV and online on TawkrTV. This is the Bill Press Show.
We jump over to Sochi in the next segment to find out from Sally Jenkins what the latest is, what to look forward to, and how the Americans are how we are doing in the Olympic Games. Right now, we've been talking about the Affordable Care Act. We are talking with Sam Baker from the National Journal, nationaljournal.com, of course. And Sam, you were saying that the Affordable Care Act is here to stay. Not everybody accepts that. But the question is, well, Republicans have certainly tried in Congress to repeal it. And since they have not succeeded yet, who do we count on to repeal Obamacare? Michelle Bachmann has the answers. She's going to a higher power.
You know, I really do. I believe that God listens to his people, and I think as believers humble themselves, confess their sins, and pray, I think God hears our hearts, and he moves. He moves in miraculous ways. I'm not getting up. The reason why I ran for president in 2012 was to repeal Obamacare.
So if we just pray hard enough, Sam, it's got to happen, huh?
I think it's going to take something a little more earthly to actually make this happen.
A little more powerful than God, or something earthly. I don't know, but so Republicans do believe that this is their ticket for 2014. It's one of the reasons that they didn't protest the debt ceiling, did it with a clean bill, so they get everything out of the way so we can just focus on Obamacare. Is it that unpopular?
Yes. Politically. I mean, if you look at an opinion poll of it, it is unpopular and getting less popular.
And yet people are signing up.
You know, this is one of Democratic strategists have been worried about this for a while. That because, you know, it's not like Social Security or Medicare where you get your Obamacare card. It's sort of a diffuse set of benefits. What people actually get is private insurance. And, you know, there's all these other things like you get a rebate if your premiums were too high, this sort of thing. But people don't connect that with the healthcare law. So people can really like what they get from it and think they don't like it at the same time. And that, you know, could really be a political problem for Democrats.
Yeah, that is. It's just a strange situation, is it? Right?
It's especially in states like my home state of Kentucky, deeply conservative states, people think they hate Obamacare. They're signing up.
And they're signing
huge
up
numbers
at the same time.
Yep.
Hey, Sam, great to see you. Thanks so much for coming in. Thanks for your good work.
Thanks for having me.
NationalJournal.com. Sam
This is the Bill Press Show. on your radio, on TV, and online. This is The Bill Press Show.
All right, here we go, 33 minutes after the hour on a Friday morning, Valentine's Day, February 14, coming to you live from our nation's capital, about halfway through the Winter Olympics in Sochi. It's a lot warmer in Sochi than it is in Washington, D.C. They were skiing in short sleeves, short sleeve shirts yesterday at the Olympics. And I got to tell you, so excited to welcome to the program. You know, I'm not a big sports fan, but I read Sally Jenkins in the Washington.
We lost our connection to Sochi, it sounds like.
Sounds like it. Let's try to get it back.
Let's try to get her back on.
But I was saying, I read Sally Jenkins in the Washington Post for one reason, because she's so damn good.
She's awesome.
She really is.
She's really good. I hear her phone is a little shaky, but she as a writer is fantastic.
And we love Cindy Boren, the Washington Post blogger. So the women have sort of taken over the Post when it comes to sports coverage, right?
That's right.
Yeah. And Sally is in Sochi, and Sally has been on the phone, and Sally was right there. And we certainly hope to get her back. In fact, we do have her back. Yes, we were just saying, Sally, I was just saying, I'm not a big sports fan, but I read you in the Washington Post because you are so good, and thank you for joining us from Sochi.
You're so kind to say that. Thank you.
No, it's true. It's true. So we have some breaking news from Sochi this morning. You probably know about it, Peter Ogburn.
So Bob Costas is out again tonight. Matt Lauer has been filling in for him the last 3 nights, but tonight it's not going to be Matt Lauer anchoring the Olympic coverage. It's going to be Meredith Vieira.
Whoa.
Meredith Vieira is covering the Olympic coverage tonight.
Yeah. You know, from your position on the ground, Sally, maybe it doesn't mean as much, but for viewers at home, right, Costas is sort of the face of the Olympic coverage and has been for years, right?
Oh, yeah. I mean, since about if I'm not mistaken, about 1986.
Whoa.
He hadn't missed a telecast from the Olympics, from an Olympics since the 1980s. So you can imagine what that means to him.
And he hasn't aged since 1986 either.
No, he's Dick Clark, isn't he?
Exactly.
I think he might be. Now, so I have to ask you about the slopestyle skiing. It must have been very, very exciting. And is this sort of a case if we're not doing so well in some other events, so let's just invent a new event?
Well, yeah. I mean, the only medals actually that the Americans have won have come in these new extreme events, which the traditional winter sport events, speed skating, alpine skiing, we're busts. I mean, we haven't finished better than 7th in a speed skating event yet. So the new kids are sort of saving the day a little bit.
And is this? I mean, is slopestyle skiing is accepted? I mean, other countries doing it? Did they get it? And is it going to last as an Olympic event?
I think it'll last as an Olympic event because the corporate sponsors love it. It's eye candy for the viewer. They're exciting. And by the way, those kids are great. They're really fresh and they'll say anything. And they start every sentence with bro or dude. And it's kind of they're great. They're great.
And how are we doing? You mentioned we're particularly doing well in this the extreme park. So how are we doing overall? Where do we stand now in medals?
As of this moment, we stood a lowly, by American standards, 5th in the overall medal count, trailing countries like Norway and good for them. The Americans have been very sluggish here. It's weird and interesting, and in fact, I'm going to try to tackle that topic in tomorrow's paper. There's something going on. We just don't know what it is. I don't know if there's too much sunshine, or if they didn't train right for these, low altitude, sea level, heavier air, humid conditions. We don't know.
One of the things that I think has been a real disappointment that's been documented are the speed skaters, the American speed skaters.
You're breaking up a little bit, Sally. Maybe it moved around.
Аппарат абонента выключен.
Oh, who was that? That was fun. I want to hear that.
Phone is switched off or out of the coverage.
Oh, and then she went to American. Oh, we lost her there. It sounds like she's in Sochi, and this is live TV radio.
We could try again, but
sure.
Sure.
One of the things that they're saying about the speed skaters is, I've got up on my screen, I don't know if Sip can get a shot of it or not, but the speed skaters have these state-of-the-art new suits that Under Armour did with Lockheed Martin.
Yes, right.
And they look like something that a pilot would wear, right? So it's got this new zipper that sort of goes from one side of your neck down the side, so it's not right under your throat. The point of that is that it's supposed to stay zipped better. They have this polyurethane molding.
Hold on just one second. We have Sally back, I believe. Sally, are you there?
I am.
Hey, Sally.
You won't believe this, but you went away and a Russian voice came on.
That's par for the course around here.
We were very worried about you.
Par for the course, yeah.
That's about how everything works here.
The toilets and the phones.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Same way. So Peter had just asked before the break about the speed skaters and this flap about they're blaming the uniforms for slowing them down, the new suits or whatever.
Well, some people are trying to do that, but let's be clear. A racing suit doesn't slow you down more than a second. You know, the coaches who are suggesting that, some coaches are suggesting that, and others are saying, look, you know, the suit doesn't cost you over a second. That's a pretty large margin of time that the American skaters are losing races by. Again, they're not finishing, you know, third or fourth. They're finishing seventh or worse.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, the world record holder last night, Brittany
Bo.
Yeah,
Brittany
I mean,
Bo.
she got crushed last night.
Yes, I mean, I was there to see that race. Both she and Heather Richardson, who were, you know, number two in the world in that distance, they were, you know, just well out of the medals. Not even nowhere near. You know, more than a second, 1.4 seconds, 1.6 seconds, somewhere in there. You know, that's not a matter of aerodynamics.
Right. So we are now halfway through. What's coming up where we think the United States might might really shine? The bobsled, or
well, I mean, Bob. We've got some interesting bobsledders, and I wish I could tell you that, you know. But here's the thing: all of these people were medal favorites coming in, so I could tell you some more medal favorites. But you know, those are the people who aren't performing here. So
Shaun White, Bodie Miller, all these people that were just total busts over there.
Mm-hmm.
Ted Ligety today, who's the heavy favorite in the super combined, finished 12th, and in his best chance for a gold medal, finished 12th.
You mentioned Shaun White. What's the feeling about him over there? I mean, he pulled out at the last minute. Some people said too late to have somebody else take his place, and then whining about the course. You know. Well,
he's old for a snowboarder, and he's very, very decorated, and you know he's been a lot of fun for Americans for a long time, and you know he had a bad event. The course was slippery, and you know his things here are a little unpredictable because of the warmth. I think that's something that might be going on. Is because the weather is so warm. You know, the snow is not hard, and the icy, the courses are not firm. There's not a slippage. Just a lot of slippage out there.
Yeah, no, you can see that condition, and I saw a picture of some workers around the thing with their shirts off yesterday. You know, at the
so I think that's partly what happened to Shaun White in the half pipe, and you know you'd be hard pressed to find anybody here in Sochi who would tell you Shaun White is not a very good guy and has been very good for American sports.
Are there big crowds in Sochi, and if so, a lot of Americans, or what do you find? Are the events pretty well, attended?
No, the crowds are not big. You feel a sense of flatness in venues. They're about 3/4 full, 2/3 full, depending on the sport. The only arena that's been just packed is the figure skating arena. And of course, figure skating is like hockey here. It's a national pastime, and the Russians are expecting lots of medals in the figure skating. Rightly so. They're better at it than anyone in the world.
Right.
And so that arena tends to be more full and more animated. But a lot of the people here are remarking that it doesn't feel as sort of animated and the crowds are not as large and vocal as we're accustomed to seeing.
And a lot of Americans, there was so much bad publicity about security ahead of time. It scared a lot of people off, I think. No?
Small pockets of Americans, not huge American crowds. And more interestingly, the Dutch crowds, and the Dutch are famous at the Olympics, at the Winter Games, for being a large, wonderful, loud, bell-ringing, drum-beating presence. And they appear to be about half their usual size, the Dutch crowd.
Wow. I don't know. Stayed home from that. Okay. Well, Sally, take care of yourself over there. I enjoy both the sun and the snow.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for joining us, and maybe we'll get to see you when you get back here in Washington. Thanks, Sally.
Sounds great.
Sally Jenkins. She's great. Columnist and writer for the Washington Post.
Can we interview that Russian voice now?
At WashingtonPost.com. Yeah. До свидания. Whatever. That was the Russian operator who just came on to say your connection had been broken or something on it. But
that was fun.
Well, with our video stream.
Exactly. Maybe she's watching.
She was probably watching, right.
She's watching.
YouTube.com/TawkrTV.
This is the Bill Press Show. on your radio, on TV, and online. This is The Bill Press Show.
13 minutes before the top of the hour here, before we go into the weekend on this Valentine's Day. And by the way, Right.
I thought you were
Friday.
going too.
I said this Friday, but I'll say, by the way, Monday, we are still going to be here. This is a long weekend for everybody but us. Hopefully for you. On a Friday, we like to look back at our favorite clips of the week, our favorite sound bites of the week, and bring you our top 5. We start at the bottom, work our way to the top. The senator from Texas, Ted Cruz, starts us off.
Number 5.
If you are a Birkenstock-wearing, tree-hugging, Greenpeace activist, you should love the Keystone Pipeline.
Yeah, what's wrong with you environmentalists? What's wrong with you people? Come on, tree huggers, hug the pipeline, says Ted Cruz. So wrong. Moving right along, Michael Sam, big news of the week. Last weekend, Michael Sam from the University of Missouri coming out as a gay man, and he's up in the NFL draft.
Number 4.
What have you come here today to tell us?
Came to tell the world that I'm an openly proud gay man.
How does it feel to say those words to the world?
It's a load off my chest. I told my teammates this past August that I came out to my teammates, and they took it great. They rallied around me, they supported me, and I couldn't ask for better teammates.
And Michael Sam has gotten congratulations and good wishes from just about everybody across the board, except for some homophobes still on the NFL squads, mostly coaches around the country. Even the President of the United States and the First Lady reached out to say congratulations to Michael Sam, and hopefully he will be the first openly gay player in the NFL. Not the last by far. Michelle Bachmann, she's got the answer for repealing Obamacare. Yes, she's still in the Congress for another year. She says if Congress can't do it, we will call on a higher power.
Number 3.
I really do. I believe that God listens to his people, and I think as believers humble themselves, confess their sins, and pray. I think God hears our hearts, and he moves. He moves in miraculous ways. I'm not getting up. The reason why I ran for president in 2012 was to repeal Obamacare.
God's going to repeal Obamacare. I think Michelle Bachmann really ought to ask the question, and when it comes to people's health care and taking care of those who don't have health insurance, what would Jesus do? I don't think he would repeal Obamacare. I think he would expand it. I think he would go for single payer myself. But, I mean, it's just, I've read the Gospels. Obviously, Michelle Bachmann hasn't. Yes, President Obama welcoming the President of France to the White House this week. He even tried out his French, as far as his French goes, which he admitted was not very far.
Number 2.
Good morning, everybody. Bonjour. That's the extent of my French.
He did work in a couple of other words. He said, bienvenue. I forget one other.
Hollande.
But the problem is that he never learned to pronounce the president's name instead of Hollande. Hollande. He kept calling him Hollande. No, Hollande. And finally, in talking with KTLA out in Los Angeles, KTLA's entertainment reporter, Sam Rubin, Samuel L. Jackson is, he sort of has fun with the fact that Sam Rubin confuses him, obviously, with Lawrence Fishburne.
Number 1.
I tell you what, you working for Marvel, the Super Bowl commercial, did you get a lot of reaction to that Super Bowl commercial?
What Super Bowl commercial?
Ooh.
Oh, you know what? I've been my mistake.
You're as crazy as the people on Twitter. Right. I'm not Lawrence Fishburne.
That's my fault. I know that. That was my fault. My mistake. You know what?
We don't all look alike.
Flogger, you're
We may
exactly
be
right.
all black and famous.
You
but
are
we all
guilty.
look alike.
I am guilty.
Next question.
I am guilty.
He thought you were Bob Dylan.
Right. That's right.
You're the entertainment reporter. You're the entertainment reporter for this station.
Flog.
And you don't know the difference between me and Lawrence Fishburne.
My mistake. I apologize. Really, my big mistake. Let's talk about.
That must be a very short line for your job.
I'll say. No, it probably would not be hard to get another person to sit right here. Let's talk about RoboCop.
Oh, hell no. Really?
Yeah. There we go. The clips of the week. Sam Rubin, I love that. He tried to get back on track, and Samuel L. Jackson says, hell no. What? You're the entertainment reporter for that station? Must be a long line for that job.
Perfect.
Oh, perfect indeed. All right, we will be back here with my parting shot on this Valentine's Day.
Streaming live video right now at youtube.com/TawkrTV. That's TAWKR-TV. This is The Bill Press Show. The Parting Shot with Bill Press. This is The Bill Press Show.
Okay, and on this Friday, February 14, my parting shot for today. Have you noticed there's a new anti-Obama Republican talking point out there these days? It's one word, lawlessness. And it looks like they all got the same memo. Yeah, in just the last few days, Charles Krauthammer on Fox News said that President Obama wakes up in the morning and decides which laws he's going to enforce that day and which ones he's not. Rush Limbaugh said nobody knows what to do about this president who refuses to enforce the laws. And John Boehner last week declared that Republicans would not pass any immigration reform legislation this year because, again, they can't trust President Obama to enforce the law. Obama's a lawless president, say the most polite of his critics. He's a Nazi dictator, say the ugliest. And both of them are wrong. But they just show how desperate the Republican Party has become, especially over Obamacare. Obamacare, remember, is the law of the land. It's been there for 4 years. President Obama is just trying to enforce it. It's those who are trying to undermine the law, obstruct it, or repeal it who are the real lawless ones. That's my parting shot for today, folks. President's Day on Monday. We will be here. It's a good weekend. Do what the president plans to do. A lot of binge TV watching. True Detective, Game of Thrones, and House of Cards. It's all out there, all 13 episodes. So you got a lot to do this weekend. Have a great weekend. Come back and see us on Monday. And most of all, to all of you, we love you. Happy Valentine's Day.
This is the Bill Press Show.